Chapter 4:15. The first ray of sunlight in the morning had just shone on the earth. Through the crack in the window, a ray of sunlight made Zhang Feng unable to sleep anymore. The most important thing was that his stomach was hurting badly from holding in his urine. However, when he got up, he was dumbfounded. He saw that in the tavern's main hall, without him knowing, all the tables and chairs had been moved away. Near the counter, there was actually a bed with a gauze curtain. Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? Who the hell dares to cause trouble in my territory without Lao Tzu's permission? In his anger, Zhang Feng forgot to pee and opened the curtain. However, in the next moment he could not help but be speechless. He saw Old Man Li lying naked on the bed and was actually snoring. What kind of logic is this? Old man, hey. Get up and pee. Old man, wake up. Old man, hey. Old man, wake up. With you doing this, how am I going to open my business? Zhang Feng kicked Old Man Li's butt. If the people in the palace saw this, they would definitely come in with red eyes and tear Zhang Feng into pieces. This is not. Yu Qigong, who was squatting at the tavern's entrance, was furious. This mother-f***er, this is the retired emperor. He actually dared to kick his butt? **ck. This is intolerable. Yu Qigong hooked his foot and a brick appeared in his hand. Kid, you dare? Shut up. **ck, idiot, you're crazy. Cheng Yaojin, who was hugging a wine jar and taking a nap, was instantly shocked awake. Zhang Feng, who was in the room, was also shocked silly by this muffled sound. Li Yuan was also shocked awake. What happened? What happened? Men, come and protect me. As soon as Li Yuan got up, he did not even have time to put on his clothes and hurriedly shouted. As for Zhang Feng, he was scared silly. They saw a man as tall as an iron tower kick the door of the tavern to smithereens. Furthermore, the man was holding a huge brick in his hand. After all, the bricks of the Tang dynasty were much bigger than modern bricks. Behind the brawny man, another brawny man kicked Zhang Feng just as he was about to smash the brick in his hand. Instantly, the air froze. Everyone was completely stunned. After a while, Li Yuan woke up. He looked at himself and put on his clothes first. Then, he said embarrassedly, well, it's a misunderstanding, it's all a misunderstanding. Hearing that, Yu Qigong roared indignantly, Old Master, this grandson actually kicked your butt. I want to kill him. **ck. Shut the **ck up. Old man, this grandson drank too much. Brother Zhang Feng, we'll meet again. I'll explain it to you next time. Although he could not see the person's face with the sun behind him, Zhang Feng knew that voice. Wasn't this Old Qin? Seeing that Old Qin got rid of that silly big head, Zhang Feng's heart calmed down. He looked at Li Yuan with a strange expression and said, Old Master, what exactly do you do? Who's this iron fool? Ah, well, he's just my bodyguard. He's usually loyal, but did you really kick my butt just now? As he spoke, Li Yuan even touched his butt. After Zhang Feng heard that and saw that there was no danger, he roared in exasperation, Old Master, if you want to sleep, isn't my house so big? Do you have to buy a bed overnight and put it in my hall? I want to open a business here. Hey, don't think that I don't know. If you did business honestly, you'd have made a fortune long ago. Kid, don't nag like a resentful wife. I heard from Qian, that you're a lazy bum. Old man, I'm not leaving. From now on, you just have to serve me well. I'm your only customer. As for money, as long as you dare to say it, I can give you as much as you want. He really did not boast about this. Although he handed over his imperial power, the birthday gifts he received every year were millions of gold taels. If not, as long as he informed Li Shimin to print a few extra large banknotes, wouldn't it be fine? This was not a problem. Zhang Feng heard that and curled his lips. There are millions of strange people in the world. This Li guy accounts for half of them. All right, quickly get someone to remove the bed. I'll pee and go back to sleep. As Zhang Feng spoke, his whole body quivered. He could not hold it in anymore and hurriedly wanted to slip away. But how could Li Yuan let him slip away just like that? He was sleeping soundly just now, but after being disturbed by these fellows, and now that the door was kicked open, how could he sleep? He grabbed Zhang Feng by the back of his collar and pointed to his flat stomach, saying, "Old man is hungry, make me a bowl of lotus seed soup to rinse my mouth." Zhang Feng was completely dumbfounded. How rich did he have to be to raise such a prodigal son? Lotus seed soup to rinse your mouth? Even if there was, Lao Tzu would not make it for you at this time. Old master, you have to let me open the floodgates first. I can't hold it in anymore. Chapter 416. In the end, Zhang Feng didn't get his wish to go back to sleep. He was already caught by Li Yuan, who was waiting outside the latrine, to make breakfast. Zhang Feng looked at the dawn of the eastern sky and rolled his eyes. It's so damn early, what kind of breakfast is he making? But he is an old man, and Lao Li's father. Forget it. Seeing that Lao Li and his father had just reconciled, he did not care so much. But what to eat? Zhang Feng was finally worried. And what he was worried about was what to eat today. Thinking about it, Zhang Feng could not help but have an idea. That's right. Usually, old Li couldn't wait to get everything he could get for his father. If he ate, he must have eaten everything. Should he get a bowl of cold jelly? As he thought about it, Zhang Feng took action. It was not troublesome to make this thing. Anyway, the new beans were on the market. At this time, it was indeed a delicious dish to grind beans to make cold jelly. The key was that he himself was also hungry. And Li Yuan could not stay idle. This wine he did not drink enough in the palace. Now that he came here, he should drink to his heart's content. When he took out a bottle of wine from the secret compartment below the wine cabinet, he was excited. This thing that could make Zhang Feng hide, it was definitely a good thing. Old master, this thing, you can't drink it. Just as Li Yuan was about to drink the jug, Qing Yaojin, who had just entered the door, jumped in fright. He hurriedly dissuaded him. Li Yuan's face was instantly unhappy. So, this good wine, I can't drink it, but you can drink it? Seeing Li Yuan angry, Qing Yaojin hurriedly explained, No, it's not like that. It's like this is not wine, it's alcohol. A bowl of this thing can make a strong adult drunk. Last time, that kid from the Wei family almost drank this thing to death. Hearing this, Li Yuan could not help but be shocked. This is so powerful? What wine is this? Is it that god's nectar? No, this thing was taken out by Feng Zi from the wine. He said it can cure diseases, especially skin diseases. This thing can't be drunk. Are you sure? Old master, you can drink whatever wine you want, but this thing, you really can't drink it. At this time, Zhang Feng came out with a big bowl of cold jelly. Seeing that this alcohol was actually taken out by the old master, he could not help but think of something in his heart. The kind that can bark. Old man, if you really want to drink this thing, you can drink it now. I promise that although the taste is a little bad, it's not comparable to the wine outside. Li Yuan could not help but be suspicious. Qing Yaojin and the two people each take a bowl, pick it up and drink. But after a mouthful of wine, the two people's brows could not help but wrinkle. This thing, although there is a trace of alcohol, but this strength is too strong, right? If this jug goes down the stomach, then even the god of wine will be drunk. What the old master said is right. Feng Zi, what is this alcohol used for? Why does it have a little taste of alcohol, but smelling your jug, why is it so strong? Cheng Yaojin is also dumbfounded. But his eyes cannot help but light up. This thing, if placed in the military camp, is an incredible treasure. The military camp forbids alcohol, but there will always be alcohol. This wine, first, is for the vanguard battalion to use. Second, sometimes, it is also used in other places. But this thing is not easy to store, and also not easy to carry. Therefore in the military, if Lao Tzu cannot drink, then no one can drink. Hence, there was an additional rule. But now that this thing has appeared, then it perfectly solves this problem. Only 3 to 5 water bags are needed. It will not be a burden to the military supplies at all. Feng Zi, how much of this thing do you have? Cheng Yaojin is not a person who can hide things. At this time, his eyes are fixed on the wine jug. Even his 2 hands have already hugged the jug containing the alcohol. But Zhang Feng's next sentence directly ruins his plan. This thing, there is only half a jug. It is all that damn idiot Wei. If he did not secretly drink half of it for me, Maybe now I can still give you a little, but now, if you want to find it, go find Idiot Wei, this half jug, don't even think about it. This is a good thing I will present to the emperor when I enter the imperial court in the future. Then can you tell me, big brother, what is the use of this thing? I only heard that this thing can cure injuries, but how do I do it? Don't ask about this. Do you think I don't know you, old Shin? Although you look honest, among this group of people, you are the most *king dishonest one. Zhang Feng directly rejected Qing Yaojin, pointed to the table and said, Old master, aren't you hungry? I dare to bet that you will definitely be addicted to this thing after eating it. Hearing this, the two of them immediately looked from the wine cabinet to the pot of black thing on the table. Feng Zi, kid, what is this thing? It is so black, what is this thing? Chapter 417. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Li Yuan was still thinking about that half jar of alcohol. Especially that Qing Yaojin, he would look at it from time to time. Even if Li Yuan wanted to chase him away, he would not be able to. In the end, Li Yuan also took out his trump card. He was definitely not Zhang Feng's opponent when it came to reciting poems. He could not help but think of a clever move. Play chess. At this moment, Zhang Feng was in a predicament. Looking at the densely packed white pieces on the Go board, he did not dare to play the black pieces in his hand. Not for anything else, but because, damn, half of the wine on the wine cabinet was won by the old man. If this went on, that pocket of cloth would have to be dealt with. The key point was, he thought that he could beat other people's Go skills on the streets and in school in his previous life, but when he brought it here, he was actually *king beaten by an old man. Not to mention anything else, just because of his face, he could not continue. What's more, how could he not know the purpose of these two? This was all because of that half jar of alcohol. I say, kid, why don't you play? It's already been a cup of tea's time, how long do you want to think? No rush, soon. While speaking, Zhang Feng scratched his ears and cheeks, and was about to press down a black piece at a position that had long been down. But at this moment, Qing Yaojin's sinister voice made him hurriedly guard his hand. Feng Zi, if you do this, you'll lose this game of Go. Hey! Little Chen, you *king don't want to play Go, so scram to the side. Seeing that another jar of alcohol was in his hand, but it was destroyed by Qing Yaojin, Li Yuan was so angry that he grabbed the wine bowl and was about to smash it. Okay, isn't it just a jar of alcohol? Lao Tzu can afford to lose. I won't play, I can't play this thing, but you guys wait, I will take revenge. Hee, good. Kid, the old man is waiting for you. Remember, it's best to decide the outcome in one game. I won't bully you as an old man, as long as you give me that jar of whatever alcohol, we'll call it quits. How about it? Alcohol? Don't even think about it. Zhang Feng was anxious. That thing was a treasure. Normally, he wouldn't even bear to use it if there was a red or white wound. If he could use wine, he would use it. This thing was something he had saved up for great use. When he entered the court as an official, the Tang dynasty would launch an all-out attack on the Turks, especially Xieli Khan. At that time, if he offered this thing to Li Shimin, what would he get? He didn't even dare to think about it. He didn't want to lose it just like that. He was not good at Go, not to mention Chinese chess. He was even worse. She was already so good at Go, and she had nothing better to do, so how could Zhang Feng compare to her? However, Zhang Feng also smiled. He couldn't do it, but that didn't mean he couldn't do anything else. He was a good young man from the 21st century. Would he know the good things of that era? No matter how good you are, Lao Tzu can take out the poker cards. I'd like to see if you know how to play Fight the Landlord. Thinking of this, Zhang Feng couldn't help but smile. She didn't say anything and started to rummage through the cabinets in the backyard. After a while, he found a large piece of straw paper and then glued 5 or 6 pieces together. Then he neatly cut it into the size of a poker card with a knife. Then he picked up a brush and began to write and draw. In the tavern, the atmosphere between Li Yuan and Qing Yaojin was a little strange. As soon as Zhang Feng left, Qing Yaojin instantly bounced up from the bench like a mouse meeting a cat. Li Yuan glanced at Qing Yaojin with a faint smile. You seem to be very interested in this thing? Tell me about it. After all, you've been with this guy for a long time. Old master, I did think of a good place for this thing. Where? The military camp. Oh. Li Yuan couldn't help but frown. But in the next moment he couldn't help but understand. That's right, you thought of the same thing as me. But do you really think this thing only has so little? It's indeed so. I've come here with old Master Li countless times. Feng Zi also mentioned the difficulty of this thing. Moreover, this guy is also a lazy coward. Unless it's necessary, he would never spend so much time and effort to get this thing. I heard that he spent almost 100 jars of the strongest liquor to get this thing. Moreover, only he knows the real use of this thing now. So, Li Yuan knocked on the table and said, "This thing is really good stuff. Come. Old master, let's change the game." At this time, Zhang Feng's voice came from behind the curtain of the backyard. As soon as he entered, Zhang Feng was stunned by the two people. But in the next moment, he didn't care. This must be the two people fighting over the ownership of the alcohol just now. When Li Yuan heard that there was something good, how could he still pay attention to Qing? He asked with a smile, "Kid, what are you going to play this time?" This old man is already prepared. Come. This old man can't wait any longer for this half jar of alcohol. You're not afraid of drinking to death? Zhang Feng muttered in his heart. But he calmly slammed the poker card in his hand on the table and said mysteriously, "Everyone, next, I'm going to introduce something that you've never seen before. Poker." Chapter 418. Hearing that, Li Yuan's interest was instantly piqued. In these 2 years, he did nothing but concentrate on studying the things in the world. From chess to guessing big and small, he could play them all at his fingertips. Moreover, he was an expert among them. Playing the finger-guessing game was not a problem. However, this thing was really something that he had never heard of. Could this thing be something that the immortals played with? Looking at the stack of thick paper on the table, even the paste on it had not dried much, but this thing could be played with? Li Yuan could not help but roll up his sleeves and become interested. Good. I even said that I have played with all the fun things in the world, but today with you, I have really broadened my horizons. Then let's play? But seeing that Li Yuan took the bait, Zhang Feng smiled confidently. Hey, let's say first, this thing is very mysterious. There is no possibility of fraud at all. Moreover, this thing you see from 1 to 10, then to A, B, C, plus big and small kings, except big and small kings, each side has 4 kinds of suits, a total of 56 cards. Among them, if it is this 8-2 are pairs, big eats small, you understand, right? 2 eats 2, also called a pair, and then this single card eats a single card, and there are 3 things of the same side. For example, 3 A's, you can take any single card, but above this A, there is a 1, 3 ones, you can eat 3 A's, and 3 2's, you can also eat 3 ones. Wait, you say, what is the biggest? I understand everything else. Li Yuan was attracted by this thing. This thing, he could not help but feel unbearably eager in his heart. However, Zhang Feng still explained in detail the rules of the couplet, straight, king bomb, and so on. In order to make it easier to understand, he changed JQK to A, B, C, and so on. Then, Zhang Feng asked slyly, "Then, old man, shall the 3 of us play a game?" "Sure. Let's begin." But while talking, Zhang Feng excitedly shuffled the cards. He had been playing Fight the Landlord since junior high. He didn't believe that with more than 10 years of experience, he wouldn't be able to beat these 2 newbies. Moreover, he only needed 3 bombs to win back everything he had previously lost. Moreover, these 2 guys were extremely fat. If he didn't take advantage of them now, it might not be so easy to take advantage of them next time. Shuffling, cutting, and then dividing. Zhang Feng looked at the cards in his hand and couldn't help but smile. Cheng Yaojin was dumbfounded. Although he recognized these numbers, it was his first time coming into contact with them, so he could not help but feel a little nervous and numb. That Li Yuan was the same. At this moment, his brows were tightly knitted. All right, are you all done? All right, let's begin. A pair of 3. As he spoke, Zhang Feng threw out the card in his hand. At this moment, he heard a voice that made him ecstatic, only to see Li Yuan suddenly roar, "To the king!" Awesome! Old master is awesome! Ha, how heroic. Zhang Feng couldn't help but give a thumbs up. He couldn't help but let Li Yuan realize that he might have made a mistake. But now, it was obvious that according to the rules, he couldn't take it back. He could only glance at Zhang Feng, hesitate for a moment, and draw 5 straight. The straight. Can't afford it. Zhang Feng shook his head. Looking at the pairs in his hand, as well as a small straight, he couldn't help but feel a faint sense of uneasiness. But in the next second, Li Yuan threw out 2 ones. This time, Chang'an suddenly laughed loudly and slapped the table with a bang. A pair of 2. Ah, old master, I have a pair of 2. Li Yuan's face stiffened. Looking at the pairs in his hand, he wished he could slap Qing Yaojin to death. He could only say, pass, angrily. And Zhang Feng definitely couldn't afford it. Qing Yaojin also realized that he might have gotten into trouble. He hurriedly threw out a 3. He had forgotten the importance of being the landlord. This time, Zhang Feng being the landlord was also tacitly approved by the 3 of them, and it was also the most reasonable place. And this time, Zhang Feng was happy. Now that the 2 had been thrown out, there were only 2 left in his hand. Then this round he won. As long as the old master didn't have a pair of 1 in his hand. A pair of 5? Pass. Li Yuan's face darkened. Qing Yaojin's face couldn't help but show a touch of cold sweat. A pair of 7? Pass. Then a pair of straight. Pass. Seeing that the cards in Zhang Feng's hand were getting fewer and fewer, Li Yuan couldn't help but panic a little. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Big. Pass. Ah, kid, you lost. Li Yuan excitedly threw down the pair of straight in his hand. But this time, he was dumbfounded. Qing Yaojin, this fool, actually made 4 Cs. Explode. Li Yuan was stunned. The cards in his hand that were raised high could not be put down. His eyes glared at Qing Yaojin and said fiercely, pass. It's over. This, Qing Yaojin finally realized that something was wrong, hurriedly dismantled a bomb in his hand, and said weakly, 78910C? However, waiting for him, Li Yuan's smile suddenly froze in a voice. Explode. Chapter 419. Second bomb, it's over. Come, old master, this round of 3 bombs is equivalent to tripling the original foundation. That is to say, your original bet of 1 jar of wine has now become 8 jars. While speaking, Zhang Feng rubbed his hands and looked at Li Yuan. Li Yuan looked at the pitiful 5 jars of wine on the ground behind him and waved his hand angrily. Only 5 jars, take them. Don't. We have to admit defeat when we bet, right? You lost 8 jars, this wine is not enough. We have to use silver to make up for it. Let me calculate, you still owe me, not much, 300 copper coins. Zhang Feng's despicable look made Li Yuan so angry that he was about to go berserk. However, the most miserable one was Qing Yaojin. He didn't even have a single jar of wine. Now, he had lost almost 1,000 copper coins. This was his monthly allowance. At this time, Zhang Feng received the money and won back all the wine he lost. Not only that, the jar of wine was saved. He did not know why old Qin and the old master did not want the wine but wanted the wine for. Did they want to die too slowly? Wanted some excitement? But he did not care about that. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Feng's despicable and silly smile and was so angry. Although he had only played 1 round, he had already grasped the knack of it. He couldn't help but take off his belt. His upper body was bare, and he said, again. Are you sure? Zhang Feng's eyes lit up when he heard that. I'm sure. Come, I have a villa at the Red Phoenix Gate in the east of the city. Boy, if you can win my villa worth millions of gold, then you can be considered capable. Old master, you, don't worry about it. Qing Yaojin was shocked. His Majesty had spent a lot of effort to build that courtyard especially for Li Yuan. However, Li Yuan had never even taken a look at it, let alone moved in. And now, he actually gave it to Zhang Feng just like that? If this was not a gift, what was it? This brat had never held back anything good from the very beginning. Now that the retired emperor's interest had been piqued, how could this be? But Li Yuan was also a stubborn donkey. What could he say? He could only bite the bullet and play cards with them. 3 against 3. Explode. Straight. Let's go. Again. King bomb, 3 and 2, come, pay up. Come. Zhang Feng looked at the banknotes on the table and smiled happily. This was for free. Moreover, these two fellows did not bring a small amount of money when they went out. In just a short while, they had already won several thousand taels of silver. Moreover, along the way, Wei Shuyu would come in from time to deliver money to Li Yuan and Cheng Yaojin. But even so, it was still not as fast as losing. Wei Shuyu couldn't say anything. She could only wink at Zhang Feng, but Zhang Feng acted as if he didn't see it. No matter what she said, it was useless. Since morning, other than a simple meal, the three of them had basically been playing cards on the table. After that, Li Yuan finally stopped losing. On the contrary, the pile of banknotes in front of Zhang Feng was actually slowly decreasing. At this moment, when Wei Shuyu lit up the oil lamp, Li Yuan's entire person trembled with excitement. Not for anything else, but because of his hand of cards. This was a hand of heaven cards. If Zhang Feng hadn't grabbed the landlord card, he would have won back all the banknotes in front of Zhang Feng. 3 bombs, 3 twos, and 2 aces, how could he lose? Brat, it's too late now. Why don't we decide the winner in one round? Looking at Zhang Feng's tightly knitted brows, Li Yuan couldn't help fanning himself. He even used his foot to kick Cheng Yaojin fiercely. Only then did Cheng Yaojin understand. Fengzi, it's been a day. This old master's body is originally weak. Why don't we decide the winner in one round? That's right, brat. If you win this round, old man's manor will be given to you. I heard that you're going to get married? Just take it as a congratulatory gift from me. How about it? That's good. Zhang Feng hesitated for a long time before finally nodding his head. But he subconsciously asked, then what if I lose? Lose? Li Yuan glanced at the small tavern. If you lose, old man won't want these banknotes, but that half jar of alcohol of yours will belong to me. Okay, deal. It's a deal? It's a deal. After the agreement was made, Zhang Feng finally smiled. And it was that kind of insolent smile. Seeing this, Li Yuan trembled with fear. While Li Yuan trembled with fear, Zhang Feng placed the cards in his hand on the table one by one. They were all straight, and there wasn't a single card in the middle. When there were only the last 10 cards left in his hand, he paused. Old master, do you keep your word? Li Yuan looked at the cards on the table, then looked at the cards tightly held in Zhang Feng's hand, and then looked at the cards in his hand. He slapped the table and said, a mouthful of saliva is a nail. But then say it. Are you done? Zhang Feng shook his head. Under Li Yuan and Cheng Yaojin's horrified gaze, he placed the last card on the table. Sorry, a pair, a 3 to AB pair. Chapter 420. Under Li Yuan's mournful gaze, Zhang Feng put away the written note Li Yuan had written into his bosom. At this time, the sky was already completely dark. Cheng Yaojin left in a hurry because he had something to do. At this time, in the tavern, Zhang Feng made a table of good dishes to entertain Li Yuan. Among the dishes, there were eels that Guzi and the others caught, as well as a finger-long river fish, and a large plate of fried yellow and orange crabs. Braised eels were most liked by Li Yuan, and he ate it with relish. After 3 rounds of food, only then did Li Yuan ask, Kid, where did you learn all these skills? Old man can be considered to have traveled all over the world, and he had seen and heard all these big and small things. But you, from the dishes you made, to the wine as well as the Tubozhen law matter, were they all instigated by you? Zhang Feng had long known that there would be such a day. There would always be people who would ask him about these things, and this was also what he was most afraid of. Therefore, this small tavern did not have a signboard at all, and did not really open to the public. Other than Lao Li and the others, he would not receive anyone else. If it was someone else who asked, then he would directly throw out a sentence that it was none of your business, and that would be it. But this was Lao Li's father, he could not say that, right? Old man, my skills are all thanks to that master of mine. Hearing that, Li Yuan hurriedly asked, then what is your master's surname? I don't know the specifics, squinty eyes and red nose. Although his temper was weird, he was not a bad person. At that time, my family was still there, and I had nothing to do all day, so I wandered around in the mountains. By chance, I met him who was wandering, and he saw that I was talented and smart, so he took me in as his disciple. But he had a rule that he was not allowed to speak of his existence to outsiders. While speaking, Zhang Feng's eyes revealed a trace of reluctance. On this point, he really wasn't pretending. Because, at that time, his class teacher was surnamed Zhang, and other than not wearing glasses, everything else was completely fabricated according to his class teacher's appearance. But when Li Yuan heard that, he was overwhelmed with shock in his heart. In his mind, he carefully compared the image of the person Zhang Feng described with all the great writers, great scholars, and people of the scholarly faction with the surname Zhang. However, he could not match any of them. Involuntarily, Li Yuan asked again, "Then do you know where your master is from? Is it from Shandong, or somewhere else?" Zhang Feng shook his head. He sighed sorrowfully. "Old master, my master once said that I am not allowed to mention his existence to outsiders, but what is our relationship? Lao Li and I are sworn brothers. That's why I'm telling you. But please don't tell anyone else." "Yes, I only know that my master was already more than 100 years old 5 years ago. I don't know anything else. Moreover, all my abilities were given to me by my master. He never stayed in one place for a long time, but because he predicted that he didn't have much time left, he took me in as his disciple here. Then he stayed for 5 years, and then he wandered again. He said something about going to the place where the sun sets." Buzz. Li Yuan's mind couldn't help but feel numb. More than 100 years old? Moreover, he could predict life and death? Could he be an immortal? Could it be that your master is an immortal? Who said so? If only he was an immortal, he wouldn't have to seek death. This is the effect of this bone-strengthening powder. Zhang Feng knew that he couldn't talk about this anymore. He could only quickly put all the blame on the bone-strengthening powder. Anyway, this bone-strengthening powder had already been bragged by him. Moreover, this thing could really replenish protein and amino acids if one ate a lot of it. Although he exaggerated a bit, it could still strengthen the body. It was still possible. As long as it was properly maintained, it wouldn't be a problem to live for hundreds of years. However, at this time, the heat in Li Yuan's eyes was slowly extinguished. He knew about the bone-strengthening powder. Moreover, the effect was really not for show. If he ate it often, it would really not be a problem to live to 100 years old. This old man was wondering if I could meet your master. Since you're so capable, I'm sure your master must be stronger than you. Isn't that so? If the person who can be my, Zhang Feng's, teacher doesn't have a little ability, I don't want him." Li Yuan curled his lips. "Don't just brag every day. By the way, how much of your master's inheritance did you get about your control of the world situation and military matters?" This was what Li Yuan was most concerned about. Zhang Feng's magical things. With an oil lamp, he could solve the problem of table salt. With a small piece of paper, he could make all the money belong to the imperial court. Moreover, he had the means to deal with the Tubo Turks and the Guanlong group. He even had the iron boat, iron car, and so on. Which one of them was not shocking? Were all these things passed down to him by his master? He, Li Yuan, didn't believe it. Zhang Feng thought for a while. He wanted to say 100%, but after thinking about it, he finally said a number that was difficult to bear. "I'm guessing that there's about a 70% chance." Chapter 421. Zhang Feng's answer obviously didn't satisfy Li Yuan. But what could he say? He couldn't possibly arrest him and torture him to extort a confession, right? However, thinking about it, everything Zhang Feng did was done in the most down-to-earth way. Obviously, it was reasonable for him to be able to do it to this extent. Li Yuan couldn't help but have the impulse to test Zhang Feng's talent. He took a sip of wine, looked at the iron wine pot in Zhang Feng's hand, and asked, "Boy, what do you think of the Tang dynasty? If a barbarian merchant or a barbarian girl you like very much invites you to go to their place, will you go?" "Go. I'll go to his grandpa. Can people live in the place where the bearded man lives? His body odor can make people faint. If he invites me to go, I'll King kill him. You're still telling me to go to the barbarians?" Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. And when Li Yuan heard that, only then did he laugh out loud. Boy, are you anxious? Didn't I just say it out loud? By the way, you haven't said it yet. What do you think of the Tang dynasty? Is there anything that needs to be improved? Change? It's good now. If you want to change it, it's not up to us. By the way, old master, I finally know why Lao Li and the others like to ask these things that can easily cause them to lose their heads. Li Yuan smiled slightly. What? It turns out that it's all inherited from you. This thing can't be said carelessly. It's okay. Aren't we drinking? And it's so late at night. Who will eavesdrop? Li Yuan said indifferently. He knew that the outside had long been surrounded by the Jinwu guards and Yu Qigong's army. Even a bird would have a hard time flying in, let alone eavesdropping. As long as he could get within 10 feet of the small tavern, he would die. Tell me I'm old. I'm always worried about this country and this industry that can be passed down to my descendants. What if one day the color changes, won't it be over? The things that I worked so hard to create are all gone. No way. Zhang Feng shook his head firmly. But Li Yuan became interested. The Tang dynasty will definitely become the #1 empire throughout the ages with the presence of an emperor who humiliated himself by killing his white horse by the Wei River. You're that sure? Li Yuan was deeply shocked. Although he had heard about this from Zhang Sun, Wu Go, and Li Shimin, he couldn't help but get excited when he heard Zhang Feng talk about it. The Emperor of the Ages. Even Qin Shi Huang, who unified the 6 states, and Emperor Wu of Han, who founded the Great Han Dynasty, were not recorded in any historical records. Neither were Zhang Feng given the title of Eternal Emperor. However, his son actually received this title. But thinking about all the things during this period of time, Li Yuan really had a trace of fervent expectation. Could it be that he could really become the Emperor of the Ages? Could the Tang dynasty, which he created single-handedly, really become the #1 empire throughout the ages? Li Yuan took a deep breath. He calmed down the huge waves in his heart. Boy, I'm really curious. Especially after knowing everything about you from my daughter-in-law and son, I really don't believe that there can be such a person in this world. But today I believe it. It's not because you flatter well, but because of an intuition. Then I'm indebted to the old man's love. Come, let's have a toast for this. Okay. Ha. A bowl of wine went down his stomach. Li Yuan's mood finally calmed down. At this time, after calming down, Li Yuan felt more and more that Zhang Feng was unfathomable. He asked in a deep voice, Boy, do you think this flourishing age is still far away? As long as the Guanlong group is eliminated, and His Majesty continues to run everything now, on the premise that there are no rats of those princes, then the Tang dynasty will become prosperous and glorious within 3 years. Are you so sure? So sure. How could Zhang Feng not be sure? She didn't know where the emperor got his ability from. He was actually able to come up with the exact same thing that she had thought of the day after she had thought of it. Moreover, with those people around him, if he could not bring the Tang dynasty into a flourishing age in the current situation, then he really would not be the emperor of the ages. Moreover, as long as he entered the court, as long as he took out the things he had already prepared, it would also push the Tang dynasty forward in a short time. Moreover, it would also make the Tang dynasty go further. It was even possible to make the whole world become the territory of the Tang dynasty. Not to mention, whether he appeared or not and added fuel to the fire, the Tang dynasty would also enter a flourishing age after 7 years of Xingguan. This was all destined, and no one could change it. Li Yuan looked at Zhang Feng's serious expression and could not help but ask subconsciously, Boy, you only talked about His Majesty. What do you think of the retired emperor? Chapter 422. As soon as he asked this, Li Yuan's heart couldn't help but tighten. He looked at Zhang Feng, who was deep in thought, with a burning light in his turbid eyes. He didn't know how Zhang Feng would evaluate him, but he was very curious. At this moment, Zhang Feng had really asked him the right question. You mean the retired emperor? Tell me about it. Zhang Feng couldn't help but say with a wry smile, Can I not say it? Li Yuan couldn't do it at once. Aren't we just joking? You see, I'm old, and I'm a little nostalgic. If it weren't for the retired emperor who fought for the Tang dynasty for us, who knows what kind of suffering we would still be suffering now. You're right. Zhang Feng nodded in agreement. Speaking of the retired emperor, other than the fact that he was a little unfair to the emperor and caused that incident, he did everything else very well. You see, it starts from the army in Taiyuan. If the retired emperor didn't raise the army in Taiyuan, he swept away the turmoil and all the rebellions in one fell swoop, which laid the foundation for the prosperity of the Tang dynasty. If it weren't for the retired emperor's action, as well as his military and political efforts to turn the tide, who knows what would have happened at this time? Zhang Feng didn't know what to say. At this time, he always felt strange talking about Li Yuan. However, this old man was obviously also a person who valued friendship and was also a person who cherished old friendships. Only then did Zhang Feng search his intestines and stomach and recall all of Li Yuan's deeds from his memories. But this was already the limit. But Li Yuan was obviously not satisfied. He asked in astonishment, "And then? That's it?" "There's more. If you want to talk about the retired emperor, you have to start from when he raised the army in Taiyuan. All the armies before were under the government army system, but when the retired emperor started from Taiyuan, the government army system separated the right to train the army and the right to lead the army to prevent the generals from holding the army for themselves and fighting against the central government. The prefectural army system is built on the basis of the equal field system. It's a system where soldiers and farmers are integrated into one. Soldiers usually produce at home and go to war in times of war. That's why they're so awesome in military matters. As for the imperial examination system, although it began in the Sui dynasty, it was precisely because of this that the Guanlong group was enraged. But even in this predicament, the old master was still able to make Guanlong compromise. I don't know what he went through, but in short, old master, if you look at the great Tang, if not for the retired emperor, would the current emperor be able to do so well? This is all thanks to the retired emperor's good foundation. After saying up to here, Li Yuan's expression finally eased up. He was satisfied. In the end, Zhang Feng added another sentence. In short, old master, you only need to remember one thing. If it wasn't for him, where would the emperor come from? Everything that the emperor is doing now is all because of the retired emperor's teachings. Not bad, not bad. The retired emperor taught me well. Come on, kid, let's drink. Let's not drink. Old master, you just said about the villa. We have to keep our word. Hearing that, Li Yuan put down the wine bowl he had raised. He glanced at Zhang Feng and said faintly, "Kid, you can't do this. You're playing with the old man. You actually took it seriously? You can't not take it seriously. You've already said it. How can you take it back when you've already spilled it? Alas, I'm still planning to do that. You're already like this. Isn't it meaningless?" Zhang Feng really missed that house. Anyway, it would be a waste if he didn't take it. He won it with his own ability. This was his thing. Who asked you to trick me first? If you didn't make fun of me, would I be like this? For this house, the two of them, one old and one young, fought until their faces turned red. In the end, there was no way. Zhang Feng could only take out his trump card. "Old master, I won't bully you. Let's bet again." "No way. You're very deceitful." Li Yuan immediately shook his head like a rattledrum. "Then how about this? Let's decide the winner in one round. If I lose, I'll give you that jar of alcohol. If I win, hee old master, we have to agree. That house of yours. Then how about this? Let's guess the size? That fight the landlord won't do. You're a smart kid." The old man admits that he's inferior. "But it's a deal. That's a must." Seeing that, Zhang Feng rubbed his hands excitedly. Although Li Yuan had signed the words and even signed it, what if this old kid went back on his word? Therefore, he had to make the old master accept his loss wholeheartedly. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun at that time. The best way was to guess the face of the poker cards and then decide the winner in one round. In this way, no one would know the size of the points. However, among them, Zhang Feng had the most to gain. These cards were all made by him. How could he not take advantage? When the two of them started gambling again, outside the door, Qing Yaojin and Yu Qigong's jaws were about to drop. This was the guest house that the emperor built for the retired emperor. It was gone on the gambling table so carelessly. Old Cheng, what should we do about this? This grandson is really a good-for-nothing. Why don't I go in and beat this kid up, and you bring the retired emperor back to the palace? No, Fengzi is serious. This kid has fallen into the eyes of money. This is difficult. Why don't you watch here, and I'll quickly return to the palace to report to the emperor. Okay, go quickly and return quickly. Chapter 423. In Taiji Palace. It was rare for Li Shimin to enjoy a song. He chatted with Zhang Sun, Empress Li Chengqian, and the others. How comfortable was that? Now, the locust plague was certain. Moreover, the food that had been hoarded and dug out from Tubo by various means made Li Shimin a little worried. There were too many. However, just a few days ago, the Turks finally could not sit still. Ever since Cheng Yaojin's trip to Longyu, although the war between the Turks had not yet ended, the number of Turks bringing their cattle and sheep to trade for food had increased by the day. Moreover, on the first day, the trade volume reached 3,000 horses and tens of thousands of cows. As for sheep, there was no need to mention it. There were so many that he couldn't even count them all. However, this also became a sore point for Li Shimin. Fortunately, it was not troublesome to officially put the feed factory into operation. According to the list given by Zhang Feng, they only needed to grind the locusts into powder, even if they were alive. Then, they needed to tie the fodder into small pieces and soak it in water for a night. Each cow and horse only needed 30 caddies of fodder a day. Moreover, the cows and horses ate so much that it was as if they were in heat. This scene made Li Shimin and the officials see a business opportunity again. Locusts were now in high demand. If you were not rich, then you were not worthy of buying locusts. This time, the people were happy. Originally, the purchase price of a caddy of locusts was 3 to 5 copper coins, but now it was not. If you did not have 5 copper coins, you were not worthy of seeing the shadow of locusts. Now, the people of the Tang dynasty were also crazy. Regardless of whether they were men, women, old, or young, as long as they went out, their eyes narrowed into slits. But to find locusts, the withered grass and leaves were all rotten. They could not wait to dig out the bluestone tiles on Chang'an street and inspect them. The beams of the houses, even the sides of the latrines, as long as they could find locusts, were full of people. Now, the chicken and duck army were miserable. In the beginning, they were all valiant and high-spirited, but now? He was so hungry that he didn't even have the strength to walk. He squatted by the corner of the wall and dug for food. There were even people squatting beside the chickens and ducks, watching them. How could such a scene not make Li Shimin feel gratified? As the people's wallets became bigger, their spending standards naturally increased as well. Things that they usually only dared to look at but did not dare to buy were now easily bought with a wave of their hand. But how could he not be happy? Hee. Ha. All right. Li Shimin looked at the singer's performance and couldn't help but giggle. Zhang Sun and Wu Go were speechless. You're still laughing? This concubine really doesn't understand. Why did you bring back all those cows, horses, and sheep? We are full now, but we don't have any money left to serve those things. Imperial Mother, you have wronged Imperial Father in this matter. Li Chengqian shook his head in silence. Li Shimin's eyes couldn't help but light up. Chengqian, you have learned a lot from Brother Zhang Feng in this period of time. Then tell me, if it were you, how would you deal with these cows and sheep? Imperial Father. Li Chengqian heard this and cupped his fists. After pondering for a while, he said, if this matter were to happen to Zhang Feng, he would definitely find someone to take the blame for it. Just like everything before, he is too lazy. But now, if we think about it from another perspective, these cows, sheep, and warhorses are indeed a disadvantage, but they are also a huge advantage. While speaking, Li Shimin waved his hand and dismissed all the singers. Li Chengqian also stood up and bowed in front of Li Shimin, saying, the first advantage is that we can't afford these cows and sheep, no matter how much we can't afford it. In the long run, it will definitely drag us down. But Imperial Father, you have forgotten that we have so many people. I have investigated before. Now, even among the people of Chang'an city, Less than 1 in 10 people can own cows and sheep. This is partly because they can't afford cows and sheep. Secondly, it is because these things are scarce and in demand. But now it is different. We just need to follow Brother Zhang Feng's method and lend them all these cows and sheep. How about that? Zhang Sun and Wu Go speechlessly glared at Li Qingqian when they heard this. These cows and sheep are living things. How can they be lent? Ah, Mei Guanyin, don't be angry. Listen to Qingqian's method first. Li Shimin actually already thought of it when Li Qingqian mentioned the people. But now, he also wanted to hear Li Qingqian's opinion. After all, he had been in contact with Zhang Feng for so long. If he didn't learn anything, it was obviously impossible. Hearing this, Li Qingqian said, Father Emperor, Mother Empress, this borrowing method is like this. Each family can receive 2 cows, 1 male and 1 female. However, they need to report to the government and pay a deposit of 5 taels of silver. At this time, won't this show the usefulness of the cooperative? If you only receive 1 cow, you only need to pay 1 tael of silver. Zhang Sun and Wu Go frowned and asked, In that case, isn't it a business? Li Qingqian shook his head and said with a smile, Imperial Mother, I haven't finished yet. And the most important point is that no matter how many cubs these cows and sheep produce in a year, the government won't ask. They only need to return the rented cows on time. Hearing this, Empress Zhangxuan's face suddenly changed. What did you say? Chapter 424. It wasn't that Zhang Sun Wu Go didn't know about the situation of the people of the Tang dynasty. If it was a normal day, this wouldn't be a problem. However, the most important problem now was that the locust plague had just ended. Everywhere was barren. What should they do? What should they eat? Sew up their mouths? Although what you said is good, think about it. This problem has been shared, but have you thought about the people? How do you want them to solve this problem? Mother, Guanyin maid, Qingqian, we were also thinking about this matter. Qingqian is right. If these millions of cows and sheep are gathered together, it will indeed be a big problem. However, if they are scattered, then it won't be a problem. Li Shimin looked at Li Qingqian with admiration. Then, we will leave this matter to you for now. As for how you do it, we don't care. We only want to know the final result. Yes, your son obeys your majesty. All right. Come, let's drink. The wine made by Zhang Feng can't be replicated even by the most skilled winemaker we found. Who knows what's in that kid's head? You're still talking about wine? You should think about how to deal with those officials in the morning court tomorrow. Last time, it was you who stayed out all night. Now, it's the retired emperor. I really don't know what's in that head of yours. Don't laugh. Don't think I don't know what happened between you and Cheng Chumo and those bastards outside. Li Qingqian, who was covering his mouth and laughing, was instantly scolded by Zhang Sun Wu Go. Only then did he calm down. Actually, Zhang Sun Wu Go wasn't wrong. He didn't know what kind of magic Feng Zi had that made his imperial father and the retired emperor and so many people surround him. However, when he thought of Zhang Feng's eloquent and unpredictable way of doing things, Li Qingqian couldn't help but yearn for him. Report. Lu Guogong requests an audience. At this moment, Xiao Gizi hurriedly entered Taiji Palace to report. Li Shimin frowned slightly. How dare he talk about Zhang Feng? Did he really bring up Zhang Feng's matter? Could it be that something had happened to the retired emperor? Thinking of this, how could Li Shimin still be in the mood to drink? This old subject greets your majesty, empress, and crown prince. Rise. Old Black, what are you doing here instead of protecting the retired emperor in the small tavern? Li Shimin pretended to be angry. Cheng Yaojin was instantly displeased when he heard that. Replying, Your Majesty, something big has happened. This old official knew that he did not dare to make a decision, so he hurried back without stopping. I didn't even have time to eat. Oh! Li Shimin's eyelids twitched. What is it? I don't know where that kid Zhang Feng got his hands on something called poker. You just reported this matter. Talk about something else. Li Shimin waved his hand and interrupted Cheng Yaojin. Your Majesty, that kid actually won the villa that you built for the retired emperor. Empress Zhangsun and Li Shimin were shocked when they heard that. What did you say? Say it again? That kid Zhang Feng used that poker to win the villa that you built for the retired emperor. Zhang Sun felt dizzy when she heard that and collapsed on the soft couch. Oh Black, tell me the details. How did this happen? Also, how did he know about this villa? Something had happened. Something big had happened. This villa was built for Li Yuan at the most critical time when they tightened their belts. Although it could not be compared to the Imperial Palace, it was no less luxurious than the Imperial Palace, especially the Taiji Palace's villa. You lost to that kid Zhang Feng just like that? This was originally something that was built under the pressure of all the civil and military officials in the imperial court. It was prepared to ease the relationship between the father and son after the birthday. It was originally told to Li Yuan during the Dragon Boat Festival so that he could be greatly pleased by the emperor. This was a villa that Li Yuan did not even have time to take a look at, and it changed owners just like that? Zhang Sun and Wu Go could not help but be furious. For this thing, they even tried to save as much as possible on their daily meals. And now? In a word, it was gone? Your Majesty, it's like this. This kid lost to the retired emperor in chess. He lost miserably. The retired emperor took a fancy to one of his things. However, this kid was very stingy and only made this thing. In the end, he even pulled this old official to play with it. In the beginning, he didn't lose much. But who is the retired emperor? Can he admit defeat? In a fit of jealousy, he placed a bet on this villa. In the end, originally, it could have passed by vaguely. But in the end, when this old official came back, the two of them actually started playing again. As a result, this old official hurriedly came back to report to the emperor. This Biyuan is estimated to have changed owners now. Then what's the use of saying it now? Empress Zhang Sun was anxious. Your Majesty, Qian, quickly go and take a look. It's best if you can bring the retired emperor back. If this goes on, this is improper. Chapter 425. Li Shimin was also at a loss. Although Zhang Sun and Wu Go kept talking about Zhang Feng. However, Li Shimin knew that with his father's temper, he was really capable of doing this. Moreover, he was used to being extravagant. What use would it be for him to go now? Take back the estate from Zhang Feng and his brother? He couldn't afford to lose face like that. Moreover, he wouldn't hesitate to give anything else, let alone a private estate. Compared to a villa, the favor that Zhang Feng had bestowed upon him was something that even a horse could not compare to. Don't worry, Empress. We will go now. Little Gizi, quickly prepare a sedan. As he spoke, Li Shimin followed Xing Yaojin into the darkness. Behind them, Wei Shuyu glanced at Li Shimin before disappearing into the night as well, following closely behind him. At the same time, outside the tavern, Yu Qigong was infuriated. He was so angry that he wanted nothing more than to skin Zhang Feng alive. This grandson not only won the estate, but also the Emperor Emeritus. You have nothing better to do, so what's the point of being angry with a brat like him? This is great. Not only did he lose the estate, but he also wrote countless promissory notes on the table. Seeing Zhang Feng pick up the promissory notes and kiss them from time to time drove Yu Qigong crazy. He simply stopped looking. He squatted at the door, his chest heaving up and down in anger. Grandson, you're a freaking grandson. You son of a bitch. As Yu Qigong cursed, a Jinwu guard disguised as a commoner ran over from afar. Report. His Majesty is here. The guard whispered into Yu Qigong's ear. In the next moment, Yu Qigong hurriedly got up and went to greet the emperor as if he had met his pillar of support. Yu Qigong exploded at the sight of Li Shimin. Li Shimin was speechless as he waved his hand. Thought I know about this matter. You can leave first. As he spoke, the dignified expression on Li Shimin's face vanished completely. When he looked at the small tavern's leaky door, his entire aura suddenly became ordinary. Brother Zhang Feng, it's already so late, what are you still doing here? As soon as they entered, Li Shimin stopped them with one foot on the bench and one hand raised high. He even shouted that Zhang Feng had won. Zhang Feng was interrupted. He waved his hand and said, Lao Li, wait a moment. We'll talk about it after I win this round. Old man, look carefully. This is the 9th song in your hand. You lost. Li Yuan saw that Li Shimin had come. He instantly became flustered and exasperated. This round doesn't count. Old man can't see clearly. Isn't the one you're holding a 3? Are you trying to bully this old man? Hey! Zhang Feng admitted defeat. His son was already here. If this round doesn't count, then so be it. Anyway, he had already won a lot. He didn't lack these 10 taels of silver. Seeing the two of them stop, Li Shimin stepped forward and bowed to Li Yuan. Father, it's already late. Shall we go back? No. Old man won't go back. This small tavern is very comfortable. Moreover, old man believes that he has already grasped the essence of this poker game. In 3 days' time, no matter how this kid won, he will have to return everything to old man. Moreover, old man still has to win his crotch cloth. Li Shimin's eyes widened when he heard this. What do you want his crotch cloth for? What for? You ask this grandson about the good things he did. Li Yuan glared at Zhang Feng when he heard this. Zhang Feng also couldn't take it anymore. Old man, we have to speak with conscience. Let's talk about this first. Kid, I won against you based on my ability. Moreover, how can this thing go wrong? You lost. Are you still going to act shamelessly? Li Shimin's head hurt when he heard this. It was obvious that the two of them were drunk. He hurriedly comforted them. All right. Both of you speak less. As he spoke, he kept winking at Zhang Feng. Father, don't worry about this lost thing. I'll get it back for you, okay? Not good. Li Yuan opened his clothes and fanned himself with all his might. He looked at Zhang Feng and gnashed his teeth. This kid is not honest. He doesn't know how to respect his elders at all. He clearly knows that it's the old man's first time playing this thing. He still plays so big with old man. Father, you go back first. Go back to the sedan chair first. How about I teach him a lesson for you later? I'm not going back. What's so good about home? Apart from the house being a little bigger, apart from those guys being yes men, old man is really tired of living here. This place is great. This kid is a shrewd person. Old man has to live here and keep an eye on him, lest he goes out to harm people. Zhang Feng couldn't take it anymore. Why did this old guy pester him endlessly just because his son came? However, although this guy was a little difficult to deal with after getting drunk, and even made him so angry that he wanted to hit him, Zhang Feng was also attracted by Li Yuan's erudition. In these 2 days, whether it was from the military, politics, or the situation of the surrounding countries, he could talk to Zhang Feng about it. This Kerr was not like a businessman at all. Brother Zhang Feng, can you talk less? Lao Li, I beg you. Chapter 426. This, old hey, am I King dreaming? Is this still the emperor? The retired emperor? Yu Qigong's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. Would the retired emperor argue with him for so long just for a villa? Moreover, he was just a kid from the marketplace? Was this necessary? And wasn't the emperor here as well? Why did he use the word beg? Was Lao Tzu drunk? Or what? Cheng Yaojin patted Yu Qigong's shoulder. Big fool, let's not get involved in this matter. If you let go of your bad temper and your rules, you'll find that you'll be the same as the retired emperor, and even the crown prince. This is something that no one can imagine. Although you can see that they're red in the face now and can't wait to kill each other, I'll bet you that tomorrow morning, these three will definitely put their arms around each other's shoulders. Do you believe it? Yu Qigong was completely confused. What was going on? Even Cheng Yaojin was like this now? He couldn't help but wave at Wei Shuyu and say, Wei boy, come here. But Wei Shuyu shrunk his neck and appeared in front of Yu Qigong with a smile on his face. It wasn't that he wanted to, but that he didn't dare to. If he made Yu Qigong unhappy in the slightest, this guy would beat him up regardless of the occasion. He didn't want to lose face in front of Zhang Feng. Boy, let me ask you what's going on? You've been with the emperor for so long, what's going on? That's it? Wei Shuyu glanced at the small tavern. Suddenly, he felt a sense of danger that made his heart palpitate. He hurriedly said, Uncle Yuqi, don't worry about this matter. Just do your job well. I'll tell you a secret. While talking, Wei Shuyu looked around and then said, The emperor, the Duke, and the Crown Prince all call Zhang Feng brothers. You should understand this, right? Calling each other brothers, Yu Qigong's expression froze. He couldn't help but be shocked. To be able to make the emperor and those dukes call him brother, who exactly was he? Yu Qigong's expression couldn't help but change. No wonder Qing Yaojin was always so secretive when he spoke, and the retired emperor was also so strange today. No wonder. Motherf asterisk her. Are you saying that the Crown Prince, you and those other brats are brothers with this Zhang Feng brat? And Hook Chuemo and Chong Zi? Could it be that the commotion in Swallow Descent Tower was caused by them? Yu Qigong suddenly thought of something and asked. Wei Shuyu nodded with a look of longing. Being a servant by the emperor's side, everything was good, but he couldn't be as carefree as those bastards. No, he had to find a time to let Chengqian talk about it. At the very least, he had to move to another place. Otherwise, the assassination that Brother Zhang Feng talked about before would have no meaning at all. But Du Dabing and Chengqian had obtained some division table, acting pretentious in front of him all day long. He couldn't help but be anxious. But now it seemed that he had to wait until this matter was over. And at this time, in the small tavern, Li Yuan and Zhang Feng quarreled for a while in a fit of pique. After losing, he rushed into the room that Zhang Feng spoke of with a murderous look on his face. Finally, he said something. Today, I'll leave my words here. No matter who comes, it won't work. I'm not leaving. I see that the house next to this brat is not bad. Tomorrow, find someone to renovate it for me. I'm going to stay here. I'm not going back. Hearing this, everyone's face changed in fright. But Li Yuan didn't give anyone a chance to speak. He closed the door with a bang. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Brother Zhang Feng, my father's temper is a bit like that. I hope you can be more tolerant. Li Shimin rubbed his hands and said as he sat in the seat that Li Yuan had just sat in. Zhang Feng waved his hand. He pushed the IOU on the table in front of Li Shimin and said, It's okay. Aren't we brothers? I also know that there is a gap between you and the old man. But you have to remember that the old man is getting older, but his temperament is getting more and more like a child. The old man doesn't lack anything now. The only thing he lacks is to be valued and paid attention to. To put it bluntly, he's lonely. So don't look at how he quarreled with me. You also saw that he's still here. But Li Shimin's face was solemn. Because he's lonely. I don't know what's wrong with you, Lao Li. You're obviously under the same roof. Why are you so busy? It's reasonable to say that now is the time to enjoy life with children and grandchildren around your knees. Why do you let your father do this at home? What Zhang Feng said made Li Shimin feel a burst of guilt. But what could he say? He couldn't say anything. Brother Zhang Feng, I also have my difficulties. The old man has indeed done a lot for the family these years. I also want to be filial. But you also know that I just untied the knot in my heart with him. So I can't disobey him. So, I didn't come here today for that villa. If you want it, I can give you 10 or even 100 villas. But the point is, if you don't go back, you'll make a big deal out of it. So, Brother Zhang Feng, you have to think of a way for me to let the old man go back with me? Chapter 427. The retired emperor had to go back. Although the retired emperor did seem to be in a good mood, this was not a place where he could stay for long. If others found out about this, then the people in the imperial court would definitely overturn the heavens, especially those who supported the retired emperor. Brother Zhang Feng, you have to think of a way. You know that although the old master is no longer in charge of the family, as the saying goes, having an old man in the family is like having a treasure. If the old master doesn't go back, everyone in the family will be in a state of panic. They will definitely say that I have mistreated the old master and made him unable to stay. If that's the case, I won't be able to live anymore. Lao Li, don't be anxious. Let me think about it for you. Zhang Feng frowned slightly. Although whether the old master would go or not had little to do with him, it was true that it was not a good idea for the old master to stay at his place forever. Moreover, if the old master were to stay here for a long time, his treasures, especially the diamonds and other things that he would give to his wife in the future, would be remembered by him. That would not do. Especially that pair of sunglasses. The old master could not find out about this. Otherwise, it would be difficult to handle. Well, let me think. Do you want to bring the old master back tonight or what? It's best if he can go back tonight. Otherwise, I won't be able to get through tomorrow morning. When Zhang Feng heard this, he frowned again. The old master was going back. Going back at this time? That was definitely impossible. The old master must have been bored out of his wits at home. It was not easy for him to come out. How could he go back so soon? However, it would not make sense if he did not go back. What if the old master was sent away? That would be hard to explain. What should he do? He thought about it. In the end, Zhang Feng's gaze fell on the poker cards again. He suddenly thought of an idea. Lao Li, you have a lot of connections. Find a skilled person to make a deck of poker cards, just like this one. The thinner the material, the better, and it has to be durable and resistant to falling. At the very least, it has to be something that doesn't break easily. As long as you can make it tonight, or if you promise to send it to the old man tomorrow morning, I can guarantee that he will go home with you tonight. Hearing this, Li Shimin asked, Is what you said true? Why would I lie to you? But now it's up to you. If you can do it, I'll tell the old man now. What do you think? Li Shimin didn't agree to Zhang Feng's request. Instead, he flipped the cards one by one. Although he really wanted to ask Zhang Feng what kind of magic this thing had, now was obviously not the time. The material of this thing was just a few pieces of paper. It was made in a hurry, and now it couldn't be any worse. At this time, what should he do? What should he use? Li Shimin couldn't help but look at the words on the wall. After a while, Li Shimin's eyes flashed with a hint of understanding. He slammed the table and said, Okay, I can do this tonight. Are you sure you can persuade the old man to go home? As long as you can do this, the old man will definitely go home. Last night, the old man treated my place like a hotel. He slept naked in the lobby. If someone woke up early to see this, they would think that I was doing something. He even made a pink canopy. What kind of scandal is this? You can take it, but I can't. Okay, wait here. I'll go find the old man now. As he spoke, Zhang Feng got up and went into the bedroom. Li Shimin collected all the cards on the table. He waved his hand and Wei Shuyu hurriedly appeared. Now, go to the Ministry of Works immediately. Remember what Zhang Feng said just now, right? According to what Zhang Feng said, before dawn tomorrow, I want to see this thing in front of the bed. If I can't see it, let the people from the Ministry of Works receive 50 floggings, including you. Yes. Wei Shuyu hurriedly took the cards and hurried away. How could he not run faster? It was 50 floggings. If he were to be flogged like this, not to mention walking, he would probably have to give up his descendants. But if those people from the Ministry of Works knew, wouldn't they be envious? Would those old foxes from the Ministry of Works be able to endure 50 floggings? That would be a strange thing. He estimated that after 30 floggings, everyone would have to return to heaven. Wei Shuyu had just left when Zhang Feng and Li Yuan walked out of the bedroom with a chuckle. Are you sure that I can see that new type of poker tomorrow morning? This was what Li Yuan said to Li Shimin. Li Shimin nodded. Father, don't worry. This time, I guarantee that this thing will be better than the one made by brother Zhang Feng. Tomorrow, I just happen to want to ask you how to play this poker. Ha, good. You're thinking the same thing as old man. We father and son haven't played together for a long time. Go, let's go back. Tomorrow morning, old man will teach you how to play this thing. Let me tell you, this thing is very interesting. Although this thing is a child's toy, it requires a lot of brain power. Calculating the opponent's cards, there are many paths in this. Old man also hasn't taught you how to play for a long time. Just right, tomorrow, call your daughter-in-law, call Chen, our family of 4 can sit at the same table. While talking, the two of them walked out of the tavern with their arms around each other's shoulders. But Zhang Feng was dumbfounded. Hey Lao Li, don't go yet. That blockhead broke Lao Tzu's door. You have to let him fix it for me tonight. Chapter 428. In the end, Li Yuan left. But all of a sudden, the palace became lively. In less than a night's time, more than 100 people from the Ministry of Works were all mobilized. Under the red-eyed Wei Shuyu's supervision, They used the method of painting and framing to make 3 new sets of cards in 6 hours. One set was naturally put into Wei Shuyu's pocket. The other 2 were exquisitely made and even smeared with gold powder to make the back of the cards bright and clean. Naturally, they were given to the emperor and the retired emperor. Li Yuan did not return to his palace. Instead, he stayed in Taiji Palace. The next morning, Li Yuan got up early. As soon as he got up, he saw Wei Shuyu squatting at the door and dozing off. Li Yuan kicked Wei Shuyu over, only then did he wake him up. "Wei boy, you're from Wei Zheng's family, right?" Wei Shuyu greets the retired emperor. How could Wei Shuyu dare to be rash? Moreover, it was in front of the unpredictable retired emperor. He answered Li Yuan's question in full detail. Li Yuan drank the bone-strengthening powder while enjoying the palace maids serving him to change clothes and wash up. Then he asked, "Is the poker done?" Answering the retired emperor, "It's done." As he spoke, he respectfully handed over the most exquisite and majestic set of cards to Li Yuan with both hands. Li Yuan looked at the cards and his eyes lit up. This thing can also be made like this? If it were not for the fact that it did not look like it was made of gold, he would almost think it was made of gold. Who made this? Answering the retired emperor, this was made by the emperor and the people from the Ministry of Works after staying up all night. They made a total of 2 sets. This set of yours is the only one in the world. Good. Ha, the emperor is considerate. You're also not bad. Come reward. But he forgot that this was not his palace, but Li Shimin's Taiji Palace. Seeing that the palace maids were a little confused, he remembered. He fumbled around his body and took out a banknote and handed it to Wei Shuyu. "Let's go and see the emperor." Li Yuan did not wait for the palace maids to tie up his hair crown. He hurriedly followed Wei Shuyu out the door. He could not wait. He suffered a loss at Zhang Feng's place. At this time, could he not recover the loss from the emperor's family? He would not take this loss lying down. When Li Yuan came to Li Shimin's study, he saw that the living room in front of Li Shimin's bedroom in Taiji Palace was filled with a table of delicacies. But as soon as Li Yuan saw the things on the table, instantly he felt like vomiting. After eating Zhang Feng's cooking for 2 days, he really couldn't get used to the food in the palace. "Your son, daughter-in-law, and grandson welcome retired emperor. Get up. I'm not eating. I don't have an appetite. Besides, you've been with that kid for so long. Why don't you bring a chef with you to learn cooking from him? Can you even swallow these things after eating them all day long?" This, Li Shimin's face stiffened. He really hadn't thought of this before. But now that he mentioned it, he really couldn't eat the previous delicacies on the table. "Father, you're right. Next time, your son will talk to brother Zhang Feng about this matter. At least give father a chef." "That's fine. Come. Our family hasn't been together for a long time. Let's play together with this kid's poker cards." While talking, the 4 people entered the pavilion in the middle of the lake, which was already filled with aromatherapy and palace singers faintly playing music in the lake. In the morning, it wasn't hot. It was a little cool in the gentle breeze. The 4 people sat separately. Li Yuan couldn't wait to explain the rules to the 3 people. Li Qingqian had already gone to find Zhang Feng last night to ask about the card skills. Li Shimin had also basically mastered the card skills last night with Empress Zhangsun and Cheng Yaojin's guidance. Looking at the poker cards on the table, although they were gilded, they obviously couldn't be compared with his high-end and classy cards. The smile on Li Yuan's face became even more brilliant. "This card no use mine. You Wei kid take my card." Li Shimin and Empress Zhangsun looked at each other and smiled. Zhang Feng, this kid, was really worrisome. He had tricked them all. As expected, after losing 3 rounds of cards, Li Shimin couldn't take it anymore. He was also anxious. He also took out his real skills. Sure enough, once Li Shimin was serious, Li Yuan really couldn't win so easily. But basically, he wouldn't win every round. It was just a matter of time and the danger in it. Just like that, the 4 people played from 7 to 5 and still didn't have the intention to get up. However, Empress Zhangsun couldn't sit for a long time. She could only summon Cheng Yaojin and Wei Zheng and others to play. And Li Yuan was like a local rich man. On the ground behind him, there were already piles of gold bars. They played from 5 to 5 and still didn't have the intention to stop. After eating and pausing for a while, they basically solved all the problems in the pavilion in the middle of the lake. The gong sounded at midnight. Zhang Sun looked at the shouts in the pavilion in the middle of the lake, as well as the shouts and curses. She couldn't help but shake her head in distress. Alas, these days. Chapter 429. After Li Yuan returned to the palace, the entire harem was in a mess. A kind of poker game instantly became popular in the palace. In the Ministry of Agriculture. At this time, Fang Xuanling's face was full of worry. Although the patient had passed and the results were very remarkable, he still needed to eat after all. The grain farmers of the Tang dynasty were basically wiped out in this locust plague. The wheat and corn in the fields were piled up in piles, and even some of them were sticking out. These things were originally fine grains, but now they had become things that even cows and horses despised. So far this year, it was a harvest season, but the statistics of the Ministry of Agriculture made Fang Xianling tremble all over. The total harvest of Longyu was 0. What did this mean? In Jiannan province, the western part of Hunan province, and other places, as long as the farmers close to Tubo went there, they had no harvest at all. This horrible thing made Fang Xianling panic in an instant. And it was something that they didn't dare to announce to the public. Once this matter was announced, it would definitely put the Tang dynasty in a crisis in a short time, not to mention that there were 3 fierce tigers around the Tang dynasty eyeing covetously. In the west inner court where the Ministry of Works was located, all the ministers looked at the documents in their hands and were a little scared. Lord Fang, should we report this matter to the emperor now? We can't suppress this matter even if we want to. Although the Great Tang's grain reserves are enough to ensure that the Great Tang doesn't fall into starvation this year and even have a surplus, and if we transfer the grain from the south to the north and the west, and the 5 million dan of grain reserves that the various provinces and prefectures have, we should be able to last until next year's harvest. But in this way, we have to reduce the grain exports as much as possible. Fang Xianling stroked his beard and asked with a frown, how much should we reduce it to? Half. Now, the key to maintaining the relationship and carrying out the family extinction plan was grain. At that time, if the grain exports were reduced by half in an instant, the surrounding countries would instantly notice something. What should he do? The Turks' plan had only just begun, and they had yet to start exchanging war horses for food. If they were to do this, these people would immediately notice. Go. Follow me to the grain fields outside Chang'an city to see the specific situation. In the end, Fang Xianling decided to personally go to the fields to take a look. At the very least, he would go to Mount Longsho to take a look at the imperial plantation's grain. Lord Fang, there's no need for you to go. We've already received about 300 kilograms of wheat collected from the surrounding areas. Where? It's in the backyard. They hurried to the backyard. Suddenly, the smell of malt floating in the air, as well as a unique sour smell after fermentation, filled their noses. The baskets of wheat were so dry that they looked like the mouths of old women. Furthermore, the wheat grains that had not yet fully matured were actually sprouting yellow and tender sprouts. Could this be eaten? With trembling hands, Fang Xianling picked out a few wheat ears with less malt and peeled them. The wheat grains that were not saturated were now yellow and moldy. When he put them in his mouth, the sour taste made Fang Xianling retch uncontrollably. How could he eat this? No wonder he didn't even eat chickens, ducks, cows, and horses. How could he eat this? This was a good grain, but those damn grasshoppers. It was all ruined. Even now, what was the use of earning more money? What do you think we should do now? Should we report to the emperor now? Or should we investigate this matter again? Investigate again. I want the most detailed data. I don't believe that these locusts would destroy all the crops. Yes. This matter was too serious. Now that the emperor had finally walked out of his previous worries and his relationship with the retired emperor had improved over the past few days, he did not want to disturb the emperor at this juncture. Moreover, this was only the result of the preliminary investigation. If this matter was not handled properly, it would definitely cause a series of reactions. Even Zhenla, who was now establishing diplomatic relations with the Tang dynasty, would not hesitate to establish diplomatic relations with the Tang dynasty. The Guanlong group, which had just been suppressed, was bound to rise at this time, not to mention the Shandong nobles who liked to use this matter as a pretext to make a fuss. That was where the real crisis was. As for the grain, the Tang dynasty had enough to deal with everything in front of them, but only a few people knew about this matter. The Tang dynasty's grain reserves were far more than this. With 3 months of secretly stored grain, plus the grain from Tubo and Tuyuhun, even if the Tang dynasty did not plant crops for 3 years, no one would starve to death. Most importantly, the forces that had just been suppressed, as well as the 5 surnames and 7 hopes that hadn't shown themselves, were the real tigers. When all the officials of the Ministry of Agriculture were further investigating this matter, several people came to Zhang Feng's tavern again. Chapter 430. In the tavern, Zhang Feng was fiddling with his sunglasses. At this time, except for a few key parts, the sunglasses were basically finished. It was completely designed according to the presbyopic glasses of the Republic of China. But it didn't affect Zhang Feng's showing off. Lying on a recliner in the backyard, he tied the legs of his sunglasses with sheep tendons and hung them on the bridge of his nose. If he was paired with a folding fan, he would look like an elegant young master. But a stubborn one. But obviously, Zhang Feng didn't have such an awareness. He just looked at the clouds in the sky and was lost in thought. Fengzi? Are you in Fengzi? At this time, Uncle He's voice slowly sounded at the door. Yes, Uncle He. Why are you here? I haven't seen you for a few days. Where have you been? Zhang Feng curiously walked into the tavern's hall and asked old He, who had a worried look on his face. Uncle He sighed deeply and put the wheat in his hand on the table. He said dejectedly, "What else can I do? Isn't it all because of these locusts? That auntie of yours, whenever I mention her, I feel like beating someone up. She's such a wastrel. I told her to save the wheat first, but she insisted on catching grasshoppers to make money first. Great, the grasshoppers have made a lot of money, but my business, the food business, can't continue." Zhang Feng was shocked. He asked, "Uncle He, what are you talking about? The crops in the field can't do well, but the business can still go on. Why can't you do it? If you have any difficulties or are short of money, just tell me. I can still take out 1,000,000 or 80,000 yuan. No. It's not like that." Uncle He sighed and pointed at the wheat on the table. There was a plague of locusts this year. Look at this. Can it be used? This thing doesn't even eat pigs now. Originally, I thought that I would be able to have a full new year by renting 3 mu of land. Now, it seems that I can't even pay the rent. How can I have money to do business? As soon as old He said that, Zhang Feng really felt a little awkward. He picked up a few stalks of wheat that were full of buds, looked at them carefully and sniffed them. Then he peeled a grain and threw it into his mouth. This thing really couldn't be eaten. Zhang Feng couldn't help but frown. You don't have to worry about the locust plague. Everything is like this now. When the time comes, the emperor will definitely announce something. You don't have to worry about it. Hearing this, old He didn't feel happy. Instead, he became even more worried. You don't know, do you? Right now, the emperor was worried about this matter. I'm not the only one with this. If it were my family, then I wouldn't have anything to say. It's because I'm incapable. But the entire Longyu, and even the entire Chang'an area, are all like this. What do you think? When the time comes, will His Majesty be able to handle it? Now the emperor has already made a lot of money because of this bone-strengthening powder. I guess he has already forgotten about it. Zhang Feng patted old He's shoulder. Old He, this thing is not useless. How about this? You go back and pluck all the wheat stalks in this field for me. Give me the wheat grains. I'll buy as much as you originally sold it. How about that? But this is something that only you can know. When the time comes, once my experiment is successful, then what you have and what the neighbors have won't be enough for me to buy. I reckon that when the time comes, the price of the wheat will definitely be higher than it is now. As he spoke, Zhang Feng lowered his voice and said, I'll tell you, but you mustn't tell anyone else. When old He heard this, he looked at Zhang Feng suspiciously and said, Tell me about it. When the time comes, the price of this thing might even double. What's the use of this thing? It's already in this state. Even pigs won't eat it. What are you going to do with it? If you really want to benefit us, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. I, old he, am a straightforward person. If you really want to do this, let alone me, no one in the neighborhood will be willing to do it. When the time comes, if anyone dares to sell this rotten thing to you, their ancestral graves will be dug up. Zhang Feng was shocked when he heard this. No, old he, that's not what I mean. What I mean is that I really have a use for this thing. Do you think I'm the kind of person who would do something unreliable? Yes. Old he nodded without hesitation. Zhang Feng felt a headache coming on. He didn't want to argue with him and said directly, I'll tell you clearly. Come, let's drink a mouthful of wine first. Zhang Feng poured a bowl of wine for old he and drank a mouthful. Then he said, Old he, how is this wine? It's unique. It can be said that other than here, you can't drink it anywhere else. But what does this have to do with the wheat stalks? What does it have to do with? It has a lot to do with it. Zhang Feng smiled mysteriously. This wine is made from grain. You know that. And the most important thing is wheat. Now you understand something, right? Chapter 431. If old he still didn't understand, then there was really something wrong with his brain. However, he still knew a little about brewing wine. After all, every time Zhang Feng finished brewing wine, the leftover wine grains would be given to him to feed the mules. When he had nothing to do, he would come to Zhang Feng's place to help Zhang Feng wash the wheat used for brewing wine. However, the wheat was good wheat. How could these rotten things be used for it? Moreover, this thing was rotten to this extent. What else could be done? No. Feng Zi, when you were brewing wine, your aunt and I also came to help. Although I don't know much about brewing wine, I still know about grain. Now that the wheat is rotten, what are you going to do with it? This thing, I don't dare to take it out. If I do, I'll be doing something against my conscience. We commoners don't dare to do such a thing. That'll be a death sentence. Zhang Feng was speechless. The cowardice in old he's bones made him timid. He didn't know that this thing was naturally fermented malt. Although it was indeed not good for making white wine, he wasn't thinking about making white wine now. He was thinking about something more economical than white wine. Beer. Now that this thing was eaten by the locusts, it didn't affect the brewing of beer. Thinking about it carefully, if all the wheat in the Guangzhou plain was harvested, how much beer could be brewed? Thinking about it, Zhang Feng couldn't help but get excited. In this summer, if he had a can of beer and a few good wine kebabs, how pleasant would that be? All of this, he thought it was a dream before, but now it seemed that all of this was no longer a dream. The day had arrived. Oldie, you don't know anything about brewing wine, but what I can tell you is that in your hands, this thing is indeed useless. But in my hands, I can definitely turn it into a treasure in an instant. Moreover, I can brew a wine that is even better than Baijiu. Feng Zi, don't comfort me. I've already thought about it. I have a way to deal with this matter. Don't comfort me, okay? The wheat was already in this state, how could it be brewed? He seriously suspected that Zhang Feng really wanted to help him. However, this was not a small problem. This was something that all the people in Chang'an, as well as those outside the city, were experiencing. No one cared if the wheat was spoiled, but once people knew that this place was accepting such things, who wouldn't go crazy? What would he do then? Where would he find the money to buy so many things? And even if he did buy it, where would he put it? Zhang Feng was definitely drunk. Old he shook his head and was about to leave. Zhang Feng did not stop Old he. After all, everything he said now was meaningless. Old he, I'm serious. Give me a stone of your wheat. Then you'll know whether what I, Zhang Feng, said is true or not. Okay, I'll go back and do it. I'll send you one stone. As they spoke, Giggle and Sigh left. However, Zhang Feng couldn't help but think of a plan. This thing must be obtained, and once it was done, it would be a heaven-sent opportunity. This was also an opportunity. Once the beer and barbecue business was settled, it wouldn't just be a matter of getting rich, Zhang Feng thought very clearly. He didn't know what was wrong with this broken system, but it didn't show any signs of activation. He didn't know if the activation method was wrong, but he didn't want to sit around and wait for death. If he continued to do things here, he wouldn't be able to make a fortune. Although Lao Li and the others were acting as agents, how could it be more practical than doing it himself? Looking at his slightly fat body, Zhang Feng was speechless. His standard Apollo's belt was faintly showing signs of disappearing. Zhang Feng understood what was going on. He had been lying in this small pub all day, waiting to die. It would be strange if he didn't get fat. Even if I don't have this broken system, I still have my F***king brain. Just a brain. Suddenly, Zhang Feng thought of something incredible. Isn't Lao Tzu's brain a system? Damn. Why did I only understand now? Even if I don't have the system as a cheat, I'm still a cheat. Once he thought it through, Zhang Feng became excited. In an instant, the memories of his previous life surfaced in his mind. These were all things that could allow him to settle down in this era. He was too careful before. He was too careful. He always thought that someone wanted to harm him, but now that he thought about it, Zhang Feng couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. This was Chang'an city, right under the feet of the emperor. Who would be so bored as to come here to kill him? He didn't steal or rob, so how could someone want to harm him? What was he doing? He was leading people to become well-off in all aspects. Who would dare to go against money? Unless that person was an idiot. Otherwise, no one would do this, including those people from the 5 surnames and 7 Wangs, and the people from Guanlong. As for the Shandong nobles, Zhang Feng didn't care about them at all. This was Great Tang's biggest F***king idiot. Chapter 432. The afternoon sun always made people sleepy. Early in the morning, Zhang Feng was thinking about the future. As he thought about it, he fell asleep. In the afternoon, all the muscles and bones in his body were creaking uncomfortably. Guzi, Zhuzi, old He, Zhuzi's father, and even the old Xiuzai had gone somewhere to enjoy the cool air. Zhang Feng had to put his hands behind his back and walk slowly in Chang'an city. Locusts had become a rare item and could even be seen everywhere on the streets of Chang'an. There were still people walking around with a group of chickens and ducks as if they were patrolling. Once the chickens and ducks stopped and pecked at the ground, they would immediately pounce on them to see if they were locusts. Then, they would walk slowly on the streets again. However, these people chose the most difficult path to walk. They just wanted to catch more locusts. From Huitong Fong to the East Market, it was basically like this all the way. The East Market had also changed from its former dejected and depressed state. Sounds of hawking could be heard everywhere, as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They were very excited. The pork stall had already put up a sign saying that it was sold out. From time to time, the loud cries of pigs and the angry shouts of pigs being slaughtered could be heard from the backyard. There were more barbarian merchants on the streets and even barbarian prostitutes performing on the street. At this time, all the people in Chang'an were rich and happy. The tips were more than twice as much as usual. This made the merchants squatting behind the barbarian prostitutes laugh so hard that their eyes could not be seen. Their saliva was all over the copper coins. Zhang Feng no longer had the desire to touch copper coins after seeing this. Damn it, this is how the rust on the copper coins came about. It would be weird if it didn't get rusty. Zhang Feng did not stop walking when he passed by the East Market. He greeted the people he knew along the way and then slowly walked out of the Chunming Gate. He still had not left the city for some days. He did not see any barbarian merchants selling rubber in the East Market anymore. He guessed that rubber was extremely rare and the price was not high. It was far less expensive than the current popular products. Naturally, there was no one for sale. Zhang Feng could not help but sigh again. It seemed that the plans for the tricycle and the bicycle would have to be delayed again. Outside the Chunming Gate, the outside of Chang'an was even more bustling than the inside of the city. The commoners were all sticking their butts out, ignoring the scorching sun in the sky. They were all holding small rakes and digging in the ground. There was also a small jar tied to their backs. It was obvious what this group of people was doing. Now that the crops were suffering from poor harvests, it was better to catch as many locusts as possible. Every bit of profit counted. Otherwise, they might not even have the means to earn money when the time came. Fengzi? What are you doing here? At this moment, someone asked as he looked at Zhang Feng, who was looking at the wilderness at the city gate. Zhang Feng looked in the direction of the voice and saw that old Feng had come out from a clump of withered grass. Instantly, Zhang Feng was overjoyed. "Oh, old son, are you also running a side business? Why are you squatting here?" Feng Xianling wiped the sweat and weeds on his forehead and sighed. "How can I be in the mood to run a side business? Look, those damn grasshoppers have destroyed all the crops. So, I'm here to see what the crops are like." While speaking, Feng Xianling sat down beside Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng also sat down. "I say, old Feng, what exactly did you plant? Do you have a lot of land? Aren't you planting medicinal herbs? Do you even eat grasshoppers?" Feng Xianling glanced at Zhang Feng. "Can't those who plant medicinal herbs and do business have dozens of acres of land? Nowadays, if you don't have your own land, what do you eat? What do you drink? Do you think everyone is like you, who can eat their fill and not starve?" Feng Xianling glanced at Zhang Feng and sighed deeply. "Lao Li doesn't know about this yet, so I'm here to see if it was my people who destroyed the crops, or if it was all the same. Damn it, it's all gone." While speaking, Feng Xuanling's face was full of bitterness. Although this meant that the Great Tang had enough food for the time being, this fellow at his side had once said that there would be an even larger plague of locusts next year. What should he do at that time? "Fengzi, what do you think we should do? We have at least 100 mu of fertile land for growing grain. If they find out about this, I don't know what will happen." "Just because of this? Why are you so anxious?" Hearing this, Feng Xianling pointed outside the city angrily and shouted at Zhang Feng, his beard trembling. "This is what you mean by trivial? Look, the grain is gone. What do you think we should do? Sew up our mouths? Or eat the wind and drink farts? Don't be so agitated. Let's go. I have a big deal to make a fortune." Zhang Feng saw Feng Xianling get anxious for the first time. He couldn't help but shrink his neck and pull Feng Xianling away. However, Feng Xianling was so worried that he wanted to bang his head against the wall. How could he have the time to mess around with Zhang Feng? "I'm not going. If I tell you that I can turn all of these useless wheat into treasures like locusts, will you go?" Chapter 433. In a small tavern. Feng Xianling could no longer sit still. But when he saw Zhang Feng leisurely cooking in the kitchen, he anxiously drank the wine. After taking a sip, he glanced at it. But in the end he sighed and drank another bowl of wine. It was as if he wanted to get drunk and drown his sorrows in alcohol. Zhang Feng was still there, slowly cooking. When Feng Xianling could no longer sit still, Zhang Feng slowly carried 3 plates of braised food and a pot of braised pig trotters. "Brother Zhang Feng, don't be so busy. Tell me, what method do you have to make this wheat grow?" How could Feng Xianling hold back? He grabbed Zhang Feng's hand, who was about to get up to get the wine, and pressed him back into the chair. Zhang Feng said speechlessly, "Actually, it's not that there's no way. It's very simple." As he spoke, Zhang Feng pointed to Feng Xuanling's wine bowl and said, "What do you think of this wine? Why are we talking about wine again? We're talking about this wheat." "That's right. Now we're talking about the wine. This wine is actually made from grains. Do you know that?" Feng Xianling was stunned for a moment, and then he became excited. "You're saying that this thing can be used to make wine?" In an instant, Feng Xianling looked as if he had found his savior. He stared at Zhang Feng with burning eyes. If this useless thing, which even pigs wouldn't eat, could be used to make wine, then this disaster would no longer be a disaster. However, he had asked many people, and they all said that this thing could only be used as fertilizer. He had even asked the winemaker in the palace, and the winemaker had almost become anxious. How could this thing be used to make wine? If it was made into wine, wouldn't it kill people? Even if it was made into wine, it would be poisonous wine that couldn't be drunk. At first, when Zhang Feng said that this matter was very simple, he thought that Zhang Feng was joking. However, when Zhang Feng said this, he instantly understood. It was indeed impossible to give this thing to others, but to give it to Zhang Feng? After all, the wine he made was something that no one else in the world could replicate. Besides him, no one else could make this thing. Feng Xianling couldn't help but become excited again. However, Zhang Feng shook his hand away with extreme disdain. Then, he slowly got up and took a jar of wine with the lowest alcohol content from the wine cabinet. He said, "Old Fong, I know that among these people, you are the most practical. Lao Li is good at strategizing, and Old Sun is a diplomatic expert. He's not good at managing the industry, and Old Wei can only manage the internal discipline of the industry. In this place, only you and Old Du are people who do things. As for that Old Chin, he's just an iron fool. Let's not talk about him. If there was no other choice, I know that you would definitely not be so anxious. To be able to be so anxious right now, it means that you've definitely encountered an enormous difficulty. However, don't panic when you encounter something. Let's take it slow." "How can I not panic?" Fong Xianling sighed. Although Zhang Feng inadvertently told him the relationship between these people and even flattered him, it was really useless for him now. Now, not only did he have to solve this problem, but he also had to solve it before the emperor knew about it. Fong Xianling couldn't help but ask again, "Brother Zhang Feng, are you really sure about this matter? I have asked many winemakers about this, and there is no lack of top winemakers among them. However, even Lord Zhangsun thinks that this matter can't be solved. Don't joke about this matter." "What the? You think I'm joking? You actually said that I, Zhang Feng, am joking?" Zhang Feng pointed at his own nose and said in disbelief, "When have I, Zhang Feng, ever joked? Let me tell you, this thing can not only make wine, but it can also make good wine. Believe it or not, once this thing is brewed, I can guarantee that it will be popular throughout the Tang dynasty and even the whole world. Not only that, I am not going to cooperate with you this time. Lao Tzu will do it himself. Let's see what you can do." Zhang Feng was also angry. How dare he question Lao Tzu? How could he tolerate this? "Old Fong, I don't know if you are trying to provoke me or what, but I definitely won't joke about this matter with you. You have to know that I, Zhang Feng, am a man of my word. If you give this malt to someone else, it can really be considered a waste, even if they have superb winemaking skills. However, if you give it to me, it's different. Let's use this wine with the lowest alcohol content as an example. The thing I'm going to make now will definitely have a much lower alcohol content than the current wine. Moreover, this thing is not only low in alcohol content. You still remember the barbecue, right? If it is paired with barbecue, it will be awesome. Especially in this hot summer, when the crops are destroyed and the people's wallets are full. This thing will be another industry to pay attention to and stimulate the economy. Believe it or not, as long as my first winemaking experiment is successful, even a child or a woman who can't drink will like this thing. This? Is there really such a wine?" Fong Xianling was shocked and hurriedly asked. "Before me, there definitely wasn't such a thing. However, when I, Zhang Feng, am here, this thing is a must. What wine is this? Fermented glutinous rice? Mother f***, would I make fermented glutinous rice for you? You are insulting me. I am talking about beer. Beer. Beer that can stimulate the appetite and strengthen the spleen." Chapter 434. Fong Xianling left. This time, he was not worried but excited. Because of this matter, he did not have a good sleep for 3 days. But now, this matter was no longer a troublesome matter, but a great thing. How could this not make Fong Xianling excited? The last time he ate barbecue at Zhang Feng's place, the taste was still fresh in his memory. That taste was really amazing. Now the Tang dynasty did not lack cattle, sheep, and pigs. In fact, there were too many of them. Now the imperial court also ordered the price to be lowered because of this matter. Although cattle and horses were still not allowed to enter the dining table, the number of pigs, sheep, chickens, and ducks suddenly made people who could not afford meat before able to eat a meal every few days. What did this mean? This meant that the overall level of consumption in the Tang dynasty had increased. Once the problem of the banker was solved, would the people panic? Not only that, when the time came, this thing looked at Zhang Feng now and was definitely going to make a big move. Once he made a move, he would definitely be a hands-off shopkeeper in less than 3 days. He still knew Zhang Feng's temperament. This person could not be provoked. Once he was provoked, he could do anything. When Fong Xianling entered Taiji Palace with a heavy heart, Li Shimin had just walked down from the card table with a frown. It seemed that he had lost everything. At the mahjong table, Li Yuan stepped on the chair with one foot and shouted with both hands, "Fang Xianling, come, 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 play with me." This old official greets the retired emperor, greets the emperor, the empress, and His Highness the Crown Prince. "Rise. You came here for something?" Li Shimin glanced at the side hall and asked. Following Li Shimin, Fang Xianling said, "Your Majesty, something did happen, but this matter can be said to be a disaster, but it can also be said to be a blessing." "What's the matter?" Li Shimin sat on the soft couch and took a sip of herbal tea. "It's like this. Even though the plague of locusts has passed and the people have made a fortune, it has also caused the people to panic even more." Li Shimin frowned when he heard that. "Isn't this enough to make money? What happened to the commoners? Not a single harvest. Longyu, Jianan Circuit, and other places were plagued by locust infestations. Furthermore, the locust infestation was so severe that not a single grain could be harvested. Especially near our Chang'an city, all the wheat could be harvested in at most a month, but the locusts have bitten off the stalks of the wheat, and the wheat ears have sprouted in the ground, so they can't be used anymore. He doesn't even eat a bite of pig's gizzard." Li Shimin was shocked when he heard this. Who else knows about this? Currently, only the Ministry of Works and you know about it, but it's impossible to hide this matter. Li Shimin couldn't help feeling a little panicked. Although the Tang dynasty was still considered rich and had some surplus of various kinds of food, it wouldn't be a problem to get through this year. However, if someone wanted to do something about it, it would definitely make the people of the Tang dynasty panic. Even Tubo and other countries that had just stabilized the Tang dynasty's belt would jump up again. This was really troublesome. Li Shimin's face suddenly turned cold. However, when he thought of the meaning in Fang Xuanling's words and his calm expression, Li Shimin asked calmly, "Then, what's the other thing?" He knew Fang Xianling well. If he wasn't sure, he would never test him or report to him without making a decision. The fact that he could come here meant that this matter was almost settled. Fang Xianling heard this and said, "The good thing is that when I went to inspect outside the city today, I met Brother Zhang Feng. He has a way to deal with this thing that even pigs don't eat. And because of this, he wants to come out personally and develop this matter into an industrial chain." Li Shimin was instantly amused when he heard this. "Tell me about it. The wheat is spoiled. What can he do with it?" "Make wine. I've asked all the winemakers in the palace and Chang'an city. This sprouted wheat can't be used to make wine. Once it's used to make wine, it will basically become poisonous wine. However, today I provoked Brother Zhang Feng a little and he actually said that this thing can be used to make wine. Moreover, it's the kind of wine that even women who don't drink wine will drink non-stop." Li Shimin was completely shocked. Although he didn't know what the wheat was like outside, if Fang Xianling said that it was extremely serious, it meant that all of it was like this now. And he didn't even need to think about it. After being messed with by grasshoppers, how much good food could there be? Li Shimin was already prepared to have no harvest this year. But now, Fang Xianling actually told him that Zhang Feng actually had a way to turn this thing into a treasure again? How could he dare to believe it? Chapter 435. Zhang Feng was a little dumbfounded. He found Zhu Zi's father and brought him 3 stones of washed and peeled clean malt. Looking at the dozens of baskets of malt in the courtyard, Zhang Feng was a little worried. Why didn't he say that he only wanted a little bit of this stuff? Now, so much. Are you trying to tire me to death? Don't you know that I'm alone? Why don't you help me? Do you really think that I'm playing around? Zhang Feng also exploded. It wasn't easy for Lao Tzu to do something. Why didn't anyone believe him? I've been lazing around all day. You all say that I don't do proper work. Now that I've finally done something proper, why don't you believe me? You don't believe me, right? Good. If I don't do something this time and make you all drop your jaws, I, Zhang Feng, will write my name backwards. Zhang Feng walked out of the tavern angrily. He walked around the streets but didn't find Go Zi and the others. He didn't know what was wrong with these guys recently. They couldn't be seen at all. After looking around, he only found Steamed Bun, who was squatting by the river and watching the boats throw stones. Zhang Feng asked, "Steamed Bun, Where are your brothers? Seeing that it was Zhang Feng, Steamed Bun called out Big Brother Feng Zi and said, "They don't know. They were playing in the river just now." In the end, when the patrolling soldiers came, they ran away. I don't know where they went either. Oh, then you play. I'm leaving. All right, if you see Go Zi, tell them to come to the tavern immediately. I have something to talk to them about. Oh, pay Big Brother Feng Zi. As he walked, Zhang Feng thought about the brewing process of beer. In fact, brewing beer was not a problem. All he needed to do was steam the fermented malt in a steamer until it was half-cooked and then place it under the sun. Or he could let it ferment at a temperature of about 35 degrees Celsius. Then he added some alcohol as a primer and everything was done. He only needed 3 days to finish brewing. Now, the first step of the process was saved. The malt was ready, and all he needed to do was to let it wait for one night. The next morning, he would set up a fire, extinguish the fire, seal the stove, and add some wine as a primer. All he needed to do was wait for 1 day and 1 night. This was even easier than brewing normal baijiu. However, unless everyone knew about this matter, ordinary people wouldn't be able to brew it. It could be said that this beer could be brewed by anyone in the future. They only needed to learn how to brew it once. But in the Tang dynasty, no one except Zhang Feng could brew it. It wasn't that this thing was difficult, but that this thing required a certain amount of heat. Once it was overheated, it would become rancid. Even pigs would despise it, let alone drink it. At that time, this thing would really become horse urine. Back at the pub, Zhang Feng cleaned the steamer and other things. Only then did he vaguely hear the sounds of Guzi and the others playing on the street. After throwing the things away, Zhang Feng ran to the door and shouted, "Guzi, you guys come over here." The few of them were chasing and snatching something. But when they heard Zhang Feng shouting, they were like cats that saw a mouse. They came over with their tails between their legs. "Brother lunatic." All right. Let me ask you, why haven't you guys come over these few days? Have you grown up or something? No, there was a disaster at home recently. We were catching grasshoppers. Look, we just caught them and sold them for 10 copper coins. But there were 7 of us, so we couldn't split them. That's why we quarreled. As he spoke, Guzi lifted the front of his shirt, revealing 10 copper coins. Zhang Feng waved his hand and said, "Stop quarreling. Come and help Lao Tzu. 20 copper coins per person." Really? Hearing this, Zhu Zi's eyes turned into the size of copper coins. Zhang Feng was so angry that he kicked him. When did Lao Tzu go back on his words? "Get in here." The few of them jumped into the pub as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They swallowed their saliva as they smelled the fragrance of the wine and braised meat. Seeing this, Zhang Feng was furious. "Don't think about it. Do this job well. There's enough meat. Do you want to drink this wine?" "Yes." The few of them nodded like chickens pecking at rice. Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. "If you want a drink, go to your father. As long as your father doesn't break your legs, you can come again." Guzi heard this and said excitedly, "Brother Feng, I don't have a father. Can I drink now?" "Get lost." Zhang Feng was defeated. He ordered the few of them to pour the baskets of malt into the steamer. Then he lit the fire and started to boil it. This thing didn't have any smell now. It was still black. But once it was in the steamer, the smell of the wine really came out. The few of them smelled the wine and became dizzy as if they were drunk. Zhang Feng took a bamboo stick and tested it on the steam release hole of the steamer. When the temperature was about right and the aroma of the wine was almost there, he asked Guzi and the others to turn off the fire. Then he poured the wine into the steam release hole and blocked it. Then he lit up the second pot. At this time, the smell of the wine slowly spread out when the sky was just turning dark. All the people of Chang'an who had returned home were shocked when they smelled the wine in the air. What is Feng Zi up to now? What kind of fermented rice is this? Chapter 436. The news that blind Wang of Hui Tongfang had made a fortune in the past 2 days had spread all over Hui Tongfang. He was a retired veteran, and he could still make ends meet in Chang'an city by making bamboo strips. 3 days ago, Zhang Feng found him and gave him a big deal. He needed 300 bamboo tubes. Originally, Cripple Wang only wanted 3 jars of wine. But Zhang Feng forced him to give him an ingot of silver and said that it was the down payment. Moreover, the bamboo tubes had to be the sturdiest ones that had been boiled in water. If they were made well, he could order them for a long time. At this time, blind Wang could not sit still. That night, he limped to the house and found a group of veterans to help him. Zhang Feng's requirements were very strict. These bamboo tubes had to be complete. One section of the bamboo tube had to have a membrane that couldn't be damaged. The other end had to be burned with a pair of tongs to make a hole the size of a thumb, and a hole for a rope to be tied. Not only that, they had to find a way to seal the bamboo tube, and it had to be done to the extent that not a drop of water could leak out. Although this was a problem for Cripple Wang, the veterans that he had called over were able to come up with a solution after some discussion. At the very least, they were people who had followed the Tang army through the south and north, so they were still able to come up with a solution like this. Although Zhang Feng didn't say what this thing was used for, it was likely to be used. As long as the glutinous rice was boiled into a paste, the resin of the wutong tree, and quicklime were added, it would be watertight. This was a method that a veteran Marine had thought of. That was what he used to do. In this way, in 3 days, they gradually grew from a dozen to more than 50 people. They were working on this thing all day. Early in the morning of the 3rd day. Before Zhang Feng got up, Cripple Wang and his group hurriedly pulled a dozen carts of bamboo tubes to Zhang Feng, who was rubbing his eyes in a daze. Looking at the dozen or so bamboo tubes, even if Zhang Feng wanted to find fault, he wouldn't be able to. The bamboo tubes were filled with water, and they didn't leak even after the bumpy road. However, the only thing that made him angry was that these things were used to store wine. If they were filled with water, the water would dry out, and the wine would be put inside. Who knows what would happen to the wine? There's nothing wrong with these bamboo tubes. Cripple Wang, here is a banknote worth 3,000 strings of coins. But I will deduct your money. Seeing Zhang Feng take out the banknotes, the honest veterans instantly smiled. But when they heard that he would deduct their money, their eyes instantly turned red. Little brother, you are not being honest. How can you deduct my money? These are all complete manuscripts. We old fellows risked our lives to make them for you. If you don't say something, then we might have to go to the government office today. Hey, Cripple Wang, don't be so agitated. Listen to me first. Seeing that the crowd was agitated, Zhang Feng pressed his hand and said, Actually, I really need these things urgently today. How about this? Before noon, as long as you can clean the water in these bamboo tubes for me, and the bamboo tubes that do not have a trace of moisture, I will not deduct a single coin. And I will also order the next batch of bamboo tubes from you. What do you think? That's it? Cripple Wang and the others deeply breathed a sigh of relief. They originally thought that it was a big deal, but it turned out that the bamboo tubes had water in them. This was not a big deal. Everyone patted their chest and said, Little brother, just wait. Before noon, we guarantee that all 537 bamboo tubes will be sent to you. As they spoke, the 50-plus people pulled the carts and hurriedly left. It seemed that they were going to the lime factory outside the city. Zhang Feng did not care about this. Seeing that the crowd had left, he went back to his room and went back to sleep. And at this moment, in the imperial study of Taiji Palace, Li Shimin, who had just walked out of the court meeting, did not even have time to take a sip of hot tea before he was stopped by Wei Zheng and the others at the door of the imperial study. What's the matter? Li Shimin asked as soon as he entered the imperial study. Your Majesty, this is the income of the bone-strengthening powder in the past half a month. Please take a look. As he spoke, Wei Zheng, who was originally upright and plain-spoken, flashed a touch of unconcealable excitement on his face. Li Shimin looked at the excited faces of the 3 people and asked Xiao Gizi to put away the booklet. But when he saw the contents of the booklet, he was completely stunned. 30 million yuan in half a month? And only from the treasury of the Chang, an imperial manor? Are you sure this is not fake? He had thought that this thing could make money, but he did not expect it to be so profitable. Your Majesty, this is only half a month's income. At this time, there is still a large amount of bone-strengthening powder stockpiled. I dare not make the decision to sell it without authorization. Zhang Sun Wuji cupped his fist and said. Li Shimin heard this and was deeply shocked. He said, how many locusts are stored in the country now? According to the current situation, the bone-strengthening powder cannot be maintained for a long time. How long can Jiangsuan's industry last? Your Majesty, with the current reserves, if our merchants were to go to Tubo and other countries to purchase them, perhaps this industry would be able to last for half a year or so. However, the goods from Tubo are all sprayed with poisonous pesticides. Thus, even though there are merchants from Tubo who are currently negotiating with our people, this lowly subject has never agreed. Then, what if we only need live locusts? Then we can build a branch factory in Longyu and then process it in Longyu. Or we can secretly sell the non-toxic pesticides to Tubo businessmen. Will this change for the better? Li Shimin asked. Your Majesty, this matter can't be maintained for too long. I think we have to think about it in the long run and reduce the sales. For example, we can change to the previous method of storing locusts in small porcelain bottles and sell them in limited quantities until this time next year. However, we have thought of an even better idea. Chapter 437. What is it? Li Shimin didn't take the industry of bone-strengthening powders seriously before. After all, there were only a handful of people who could afford such things. But it had only been half a month. They had made so much money in Chang'an city alone. And that didn't include the ministers. They had made even more money. This was what shocked him the most. But now, the biggest problem was that although this thing was popular, it would be sold out one day. What should they do then? By the way, I remember now. I remember that Brother Zhang Feng said that this thing could also be eaten if it was mixed with millet rice flour or white flour. Hearing that, the ministers were instantly excited. In this way, the price could be lowered. In this way, ordinary people could buy it normally, and the locust powder could be sold until next year. Your Majesty, I have a matter to report. Du Ruhui, who had been silent, suddenly raised his voice and said, Your Majesty, pigs, cows, sheep and horses can be reared in captivity. I think that if we deal with the locusts properly, we may also be able to rear them. What do you think? Hearing that, Li Shimin's expression suddenly changed. That's right. This thing was already out of stock now, but once it was reared in captivity, I've thought about it, but this thing can't withstand low temperatures. Once it's autumn and winter, this thing will get into the soil. If we do this, won't it mean that this thing will be out of stock in winter? No, Your Majesty. Zhang Sun Wuji followed Du Ruhui's words and said, Your Majesty, have you forgotten that the temperature in the south is high all year round? As long as we place the breeding ground there, wouldn't we be able to have an endless supply of these things? In a few words, for the sake of profit, the most important officials of the Great Tang had really managed to develop artificial cultivation. If Zhang Feng were to hear of this, he would really praise them for it. After an hour of discussion, Li Shimin and the others really made a decision on this matter. It would be a pity if such a profitable industry was cut off. Moreover, this thing was really nutritious. Once it was cut off, they would not be able to eat it again. How could they be willing to do that? In this way, based on the original foundation, the few of them also formulated a complete set of things. Pure bone-strengthening powder, 1 gram of it, 1 kilogram of it, 1 kilogram of it, 1 kilogram of it, and bone-strengthening powder mixed with corn and flour. The prices were also divided into 3 levels. After finalizing the plan, the few of them left in a hurry. Even Li Shimin forgot that he still had something to say. But looking at the huge amount of money on the report, Li Shimin sighed. Half a year ago, he was still worried about how to make the people of the Tang dynasty live a better life. But now, all of this was the work of Zhang Feng. If it weren't for Zhang Feng, what would have happened to the Tang dynasty? He did not dare to think about it. Thinking of Zhang Feng, Li Shimin couldn't help but remember that he hadn't been to the tavern for a long time. Little Gizi, prepare banknotes worth 30,000 taels of gold. We are leaving the palace. On the other side, before noon, Cripple Wang had already hurried to the entrance of the tavern with a group of people. The cart was still pulling the bamboo tubes. Zhang Feng was eating noodles with oil. When he saw the mighty 50 people and the neighbors behind them, he could not help but be stunned. The bowl was bigger than his head, but he did not know whether to put it or eat it. Manager, the bamboo tubes you asked for. That's enough. Move them all to the backyard. Zhang Feng simply put down the bowl and drank a mouthful of wine. Cripple Wang was stunned. Don't you want to take a look? Zhang Feng was confused. Look at what? Haven't you already done it? Don't talk nonsense. Pull them in. If you want to eat, I have meat on the stove. If you want to drink, I have enough wine. But you have to pay. Thank you, manager. How could the 50 people be unhappy when they heard that? The wine in Zhang Feng's tavern had never been sold to outsiders. But the wine in this tavern had long been known in the neighborhood. But Zhang Feng's temper was strange. Usually, no matter who you were, you could not drink wine. But as long as he was happy, even if you were a beggar on the street, he would give you a jar of wine. No one dared to say anything. But didn't they see that the manager had a good relationship with the 4 demon kings? If the 4 demon kings knew about this, they were worried that they would lose their lives to drink wine. Everyone threw the bamboo tubes and the sealed items in the backyard. Everyone instinctively wrapped a fist-sized lump of braised meat in oil paper. Then, 5 of them would share a jar of wine. They followed Zhang Feng's example and squatted at the closed door to eat the meat and drink the wine. There were even people who took out dry biscuits from their arms and ate them. In an instant, the smell of the wine and meat made the neighbors salivate. Feng Zi, that's not very nice of you. Such good things, why don't you sell some to us? No matter what, we are neighbors on the same street. Zhang Feng picked his teeth and glanced at the person who spoke. He spat a mouthful of saliva and said, Get lost, get lost. You want to drink wine? Wait for 10 days. When the wine cellar opens, if you are not afraid of drinking to death and not afraid of being poor, come. I have enough wine. Really? Chapter 438. Zhang Feng casually dismissed the onlookers. It wasn't that he didn't want to. He was indeed afraid of being famous before, but now? It was to build momentum. Otherwise, would he be willing to give such good liquor to this group of uncouth people? It was all to promote beer. The honest people of the Tang dynasty didn't understand such profound things. The people of this era didn't understand marketing and tricks. They only knew that every word was a nail. But Zhang Feng was different. Therefore, under Zhang Feng's persuasion, everyone hurriedly left. They didn't dare to annoy Zhang Feng here. If they annoyed this guy, they wouldn't have a share of the meat and liquor that made them drool just by smelling it. Soon, the veteran soldier took Zhang Feng's remaining money and the next batch of 1,000 bamboo tubes and hurriedly left. Someone wanted to buy a jar of beer to take away, but in the end, he was scolded by Zhang Feng until his face and neck turned red. Zhang Feng knew the pain of this group of people. This wine was not something that ordinary people could afford to consume. Once they were addicted to it, that jar would cost at least 1 tael of silver. 1 tael of silver was their daily expenses for a year. Where would they get the money? Therefore, Zhang Feng was unwilling to sell this kind of liquor to the public from the beginning. It wasn't something they could afford to drink at all. Brother Zhang Feng, what's wrong with you? Today, we usually drink a little of the liquor that you feel distressed about. How can you let those rough men take advantage of it? Just as Zhang Feng was squatting in the backyard and filling 10 bamboo tubes to test the beer, Li Shimin's voice sounded at the entrance of the tavern. Obviously, Li Shimin had seen what happened just now. Seeing that Li Shimin had come, Zhang Feng's face instantly lit up. Lao Li, you really came at the right time. You wait, I'll treat you to barbecue and good liquor later. And it's something you've never seen before. Beer. Okay, I'll be waiting. When Li Shimin heard this, he sat down in the tavern and waited. Not long after, Zhang Feng came out with a bowl of chopped chicken wings, drumsticks, pork, mutton, and other meats that were skewered with bamboo skewers. Come, Lao Li, help me carry the brazier in. Zhang Feng hurriedly waved his hand. Li Shimin curiously looked at the meat in the basin and followed Zhang Feng to the kitchen. The brazier was the same as the one used to barbecue meat last time, but there was an extra rack on top, which was different from the iron plate used to barbecue meat. Li Shimin didn't ask. He just followed Zhang Feng's instructions and placed everything he could bring out on the table in front of Zhang Feng. Zhang Feng then took out 10 bamboo tubes from the backyard and said mysteriously, Lao Li, why are you always so accurate? Li Shimin smiled in confusion. What's wrong? Every time I make something good, you're always the first to come. You say this is your good luck? Or are you good at divination? Li Shimin was speechless. So, you're saying I'm a quack? No, no, no. Come and try this mutton kebab. How does it taste? Zhang Feng chatted with Li Shimin while barbecuing the meat. Li Shimin took the mutton kebab from Zhang Feng and ate it with relish. Compared to the big chunks of meat they barbecued and ate in big mouthfuls, this was very refined. It was even more refined than those great scholars. However, Zhang Feng didn't say, and he didn't ask. Today, Zhang Feng said that he made something good, and he even made these things. Naturally, he would tell him later. This guy was just a pretentious prick. By the way, Feng, this is the harvest of bone-strengthening powder in half a month. You can take it. Oh, just put it where it is. Zhang Feng didn't care and asked Li Shimin to put it on the table. Li Shimin's mouth twitched. This was the first time he met such an attitude when he gave something to someone. If it was someone else, who would dare to do this? However, Zhang Feng didn't care. I say, can you take a look at the amount first? Don't you want me to see your surprised expression again? Li Shimin was speechless. He originally wanted to show off in front of Zhang Feng and see Zhang Feng suffer, but this bastard didn't give him the chance. Zhang Feng heard and glanced at the banknote. However, the next moment, he couldn't help but rub his eyes hard. He didn't even care about the chicken wings and grabbed the banknote. He said in a trembling voice, "This is 30,000 taels of gold?" This is the money Lord Zhang Sun calculated. We split it in half, 30,000 taels each. Oh my God, we're rich. Ha, good, good. I was worried that I didn't have enough capital to start this business. Lao Li, you're really my god of wealth. Zhang Feng wiped his hands and pocketed the banknotes. Then he said, since you've already shown me this thing, I'll also show you how I've made a fortune. Just wait and be jealous. What is so mysterious that it made you, who always cherishes your life, come out of retirement? Open the bamboo tube and have a taste. Under Zhang Feng's crazy hints, Li Shimin opened the seal of the bamboo tube and looked at the yellow thing with bubbles. He frowned. This is the beer? Why do I smell urine? Try a sip. Don't you trust me, Zhang Feng? Li Shimin was suspicious. However, he still followed Zhang Feng's instructions and drank a sip. Chapter 439. Li Shimin gulped it down. Instantly, his face changed. What did I just drink? It was rustling and there were bubbles. Isn't this? Thinking of this, Li Shimin's face turned green. He leaned on the table and vomited again. Zhang Feng didn't laugh or say anything. He just glanced at him and continued to roast the meat. Okay. Here comes the barbecue chicken wings. Come, Lao Li, have a chicken wing to calm down? No, 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 brother Zhang Feng, I treat you as a brother. How dare you make fun of me? This is obviously horse urine. Ugh. Li Shimin didn't dare to mention that word again. Once it was mentioned, he felt like vomiting. However, under Li Shimin's disdainful gaze, Zhang Feng picked up the bamboo tube that Li Shimin had drunk from. He bit the chicken wing in one mouth and drank the beer in the other. Moreover, he actually drank it with relish. Li Shimin's face was inexplicably frightened. Feng Zi, did something happen to you? Or did something happen? If you have something to say, just say it. As long as I can deal with it, I will help you. Don't take it too hard. Originally, Zhang Feng was in a good mood, but when he heard this, he was instantly unhappy. So you, Lao Li, mean that my head was caught by the door? Forget it, I'm too lazy to explain. Here, this is the wine that I brewed with the malt. It only took 3 days. The first time you drink it, for example, the locusts, none of you can stop them. But if you drink a few more mouthfuls, you will realize that this thing is really delicious. Do you want to try it? Li Shimin was dumbfounded. Under his shocked gaze, Zhang Feng drank until he was full, and there was a layer of white foam on the bamboo tube. When Zhang Feng opened his mouth, it gushed out. Seeing this, Li Shimin's stomach churned again. This thing, are you sure it's okay? Didn't you see that I drank it? And do you see anything wrong with me? There's something wrong with you here. Li Shimin pointed at Zhang Feng's head. Zhang Feng was so angry that he almost cursed. Drink it or not, when the time comes, you won't have a share. Zhang Feng rolled his eyes and simply started to eat and drink by himself. He finished a chicken wing and a bamboo flask of wine. Seeing this, Li Shimin couldn't help but feel nervous. He picked up the bamboo tube from the table and copied Zhang Feng. He picked up a roasted chicken wing and took a bite. In an instant, the peppery taste spread in his mouth. Then, he closed his eyes and took a big gulp as if he was swallowing poison. He resisted the urge to vomit and forced it down. However, in the next moment, Li Shimin's eyes slowly opened after a long time. His eyes couldn't help but burst out in waves of shock. The wine was just as Zhang Feng said. It was sweet and mellow, and there was an indescribable sense of comfort. The feeling of the bubbles bursting in his stomach was especially comfortable. There was even an indescribable sense of satisfaction that couldn't be described. It was something that fermented rice or white wine couldn't compare to. As he drank, Li Shimin actually had an illusion that the beer and the roasted chicken were so compatible. It was as if the two things were originally one. Li Shimin was aghast. "Fengzi, this beer, this foam, how did you make it? Also, how did you make this wine?" Zhang Feng rolled his eyes. "How is it? Have I ever lied to you? Just tell me if this wine tastes good or not." "Wonderful. This wine is really indescribably wonderful." Li Shimin looked at the bamboo tube and couldn't help but smack his lips as he spoke. "Then it's fine." As Zhang Feng spoke, he poured the wine into a large bowl. In an instant, the bubbles on the surface of the wine piled up. The wine foam couldn't be compared to the future. Because of the manufacturing process and the insufficient pressure, Zhang Feng could only let it have the bubbles that originally existed in the malt. It wasn't like the future where carbon dioxide was injected to increase the storage time. In this era, there was no such ability. There was no such equipment. Moreover, this pure brewed beer had very few bubbles to begin with. However, the strength of the wine was naturally incomparable to that of other beers. This was even the distinction between dry beer, dark beer, and stale beer in the future. Zhang Feng pointed at the yellow beer and said again, "This thing, although it looks like horse urine, and people who have never drunk it will definitely think that this thing is horse urine for the first time. However, if you can force yourself to endure and drink a bowl, then congratulations, this wine has acknowledged you. Moreover, Lao Li, you have to know that this is brewed from the bitter and black malt that even pigs won't eat. This thing is what I'm going to do when I go out of the mountain. You can calculate the cost. It can be brewed in 3 days, and 1 stone of wheat can be brewed into 10 stones or more of beer. Moreover, this bamboo tube can only hold 1 gene, and each bamboo tube is sold for 1 copper coin. You can taste it carefully. Once this thing is accepted by the entire Tang dynasty, how much money can we make? Moreover, with the current barbecue, you can calculate again that the entire Tang dynasty people's alcohol tolerance can be said to be huge. As long as this meal starts, won't one person drink dozens of barrels?" Li Shimin's expression had already changed. Zhang Feng patted the dumbfounded Li Shimin on the shoulder and said, "Lao Li, taste it carefully." Chapter 440. How much was a stone of wheat worth? At most, it would be 100 copper coins. Any more, and it would be 200 copper coins. But how many bamboo tubes could be filled with 10 stones of water? A few hundred? A few thousand? Based on this calculation. Then, however, the originally useless wheat had really come back to life. How much could this malt be sold for? 10 copper coins? Perhaps other than Zhang Feng, no one would want to buy it even if they had to pay for it. Such a good business opportunity instantly made Li Shimin jealous. "Fengzi, this business hey, Lao Li, let's make a deal. I'll do this business myself. Besides, you don't know anything and you haven't fully accepted this kind of thing. If you sell it, you'll only lose money. So, after thinking about it, I'll do it myself." How could Li Shimin be willing? He hurriedly waved his hand. "Fengzi, although you're good at doing business is very difficult. You have to wake up before 7 in the morning and may not even be able to sleep at night. Based on your character, how can you bear this? So, how about we cooperate? When the time comes..." No. Now you know how to be anxious? Zhang Feng looked at Li Shimin with a faint smile. All right, who asked you to be our Fengzi's good brother? Then let's make a deal. It's just the two of us. We can't have one more person. Fine. Then it's settled. How about this? I have 1,000 taels of silver here, and I think there are 10 more. Let's take it as a deposit for the cooperation? Zhang Feng was a little confused. Good fellow, you always bring so much money when you go out? Aren't you afraid of bandits? I haven't had time to go back yet. After splitting the money with Lord Zhangsun and the others, I came here directly. Li Shimin casually evaded. Then he asked, by the way, this barbecue? When the time comes, let's do it together. You've seen this thing. It's just a stove, squatting by the roadside. Even if it's opened, the cost is low and the profit is high. Look at these chicken wings. They only cost a few copper coins. But after roasting them, they will become 5 copper coins. Li Shimin frowned. So expensive? Zhang Feng glared at him. This is expensive? Look, there are chickens and ducks all over the streets of Chang'an city. Even if they are lost, no one will look for them. But wasn't it because of the locusts that all the chickens and ducks were gathered together? In addition, the emperor heard about my plan from who knows where and actually went to find Tubo to ask for chickens and ducks. This was exactly what I thought. Lao Li, tell me honestly, were you the one who gave Lord Zhangsun the idea? Otherwise, how could the emperor think of such a move? This is clearly my move. Li Shimin touched his nose. Didn't I cooperate with Lord Zhangsun on the bone-strengthening powder before? So I mentioned it by the way. No wonder. I thought that His Majesty really knew how to make divine plans. After being reminded by Zhang Feng, how could Li Shimin not understand Zhang Feng's meaning? He was the one who came up with this idea. Moreover, he had mentioned it countless times to Zhang Feng as the cost of wine. Chickens and ducks were really cheap now. Even if they were thrown on the street, no one would steal them. But on the one hand, it was because everyone was saving food. The farmers in the fields were all gnawed bare. Most importantly, even if the crown prince forcibly distributed 10 chickens and ducks to each household around Chang'an city, the pressure on the government would be reduced, and the people would be too lazy to care. Now, chicken eggs and duck eggs were sold on Chang'an street for 1 copper coin each, which was priceless. But now, 2 eggs were sold for 1 copper coin each. If you wanted more, you could buy 50 eggs at a time, and people would give you 10 eggs as a gift. Even so, the eggs could not be sold until they were rotten. Everyone had chickens and ducks at home. Who the hell would be stupid enough to buy eggs? If anyone bought eggs, they would really be laughed at by the people of Chang'an city. There must be something wrong with this guy's head. Or it was squeezed out by the door. However, Li Shimin saw another market from Zhang Feng's words and actions. Once this barbecue appeared, all the chickens, ducks, pigs, and mutton that were so cheap that there was no stable price of 2 would be in high demand again. Moreover, once the price stabilized, it would definitely stimulate the consumer market and the market economy again. Zhang Feng had used this method several times, and so had Li Shimin. If he still could not understand it now, it would really be inexcusable. Fengzi, this method of yours is really amazing. Li Shimin gave him a heartfelt thumbs up. Not only did you make the market that was paralyzed become active again, but you also made the consumption level of the people become active again. You are really a genius. I, Zhang Feng, have never calculated whether the market economy is economical or not. I only know that this time, we just have to wait for the money to be made. And it's the real meaning of lying down to make money. When barbecue and beer become popular in the Tang dynasty, that scene, even now, is exciting just thinking about it. This is what it means to bring honor to our ancestors. Chapter 441. For example, Du Kang. He could leave his name in history and even be known by everyone. Why was that? It was because he came up with this Du Kang wine. And he was the first person in Wuxia to brew good wine. But now, not only did he revolutionize wine, but he also brought the brewing method of later generations to the Tang dynasty, and he also created this beer. Whenever he mentioned a type of wine, Zhang Feng's name would go down in history, and it would be passed down by word of mouth. What's more, He even promoted barbecue. What was that? That was the real benefit of future generations. It would be strange if he didn't leave his name in history. And this kind of leaving his name in history was different from the kind of achievements in the imperial court. This thing could increase one's reputation. Don't underestimate this thing. Once your reputation soared to a certain extent, even if you really fell out with the Guanlong group, you wouldn't be killed because of this. Who was Li Shimin? When Zhang Feng mentioned this thing, he instantly thought of this layer of meaning. Fengzi, it's really not easy for you to understand this layer of meaning. Previously, I had long wanted chef to come over and learn from you. Compared to the delicacies we eat at your place, once we return home, the food we eat on a daily basis has become pig swill. Ha, you're too kind. If you really did that before, I would really kick your chef out. Zhang Feng laughed and said, Lao Li, I'm sure you've tasted this beer. Tell me honestly, will anyone like this thing? But you don't have to teach me this craft of yours. Let me take it back and try it first. What do you think? Zhang Feng heard this and glanced at Li Shimin. Lao Li, you're really good at calculating. We haven't even started working together, and you're already giving money and asking the chef to steal your skills. What's wrong with you? This, Li Shimin sighed. It's all because of my old father. After eating your good food for 2 days, he didn't have any appetite for food when he returned home. He kept mumbling that he wanted to eat your dishes all day long. I didn't have any other choice. I see, Zhang Feng frowned. All right, when you're done with your work, find someone who's talented and can learn quickly. You know that I'm lazy, so I'll only cook a few times and learn as much as I can. No problem. Li Shimin was overjoyed. This matter was finally settled. When the time came, the imperial palace would no longer be wasteful. So many delicacies would be stewed in one pot. Li Shimin felt his heart ache when he saw this. However, in Zhang Feng's restaurant, he was able to make dishes that satisfied people with just a few home-cooked dishes. What was this? This was true culinary skills. After settling these two matters, Li Shimin said, By the way, Fengzi, the matter of the academy will be settled in 2 or 3 days. It's right next to the Vermilion Bird Gate, the Vermilion Bird Street's Kaihua Square. So soon? Zhang Feng couldn't help but be stunned. At this time, Li Shimin had already hurriedly disappeared outside the door. I say, old Li, aren't you forgetting something? Zhang Feng scratched his head and looked at the 7 barrels of beer on the table. Li Shimin was very anxious. On one hand, he wanted to confirm whether the scrapped food could be used to brew wine. However, after really understanding this matter, he instantly couldn't sit still. With Zhang Feng's ability, he was still very much looking forward to it. However, the moment he walked out of the door, Li Shimin paused. He forgot the most important thing. That was to get the wine. This thing he was defeated. He had to take it back and let those old guys have a taste of their own medicine. And that barbecue, he had to get the recipe. When he returned to the pub, Zhang Feng was hanging chicken feet, repeatedly leaning on the remaining things. Seeing Li Shimin return, he smiled and said, I knew Lao Li would come back. You forgot to take this thing, how are you going to explain it to old Sun and those bastards? Aren't I in a hurry? Li Shimin touched his nose. Although he didn't need to explain anything to anyone, if he said this thing would sell well, then it would definitely sell well. But there was another important person, that was his father. If his father knew that he came to Zhang Feng's place and didn't bring anything to satisfy his craving, wouldn't he flip out? Okay, give my father 3 jugs of wine, the recipe for barbecue, and Li Shimin said a lot. But Zhang Feng curled his lips. There's no recipe for barbecue. Did you see how I barbecued the meat just now? It's just that you need to use oil and fine salt, and the pepper, cumin, and dogwood powder. You just need to sprinkle it repeatedly. These are all common things. Go back and tell your chef. If he doesn't even know these things, then it's really strange. But this rack, Li Shimin pointed to the barbecue rack that Zhang Feng was barbecuing. He wanted to say something but stopped. Zhang Feng instantly understood. He rolled his eyes. 10 taels of silver. Ask someone to take away all my things. Chapter 442. Wei Shuyu felt very uncomfortable. Li Shimin waved his hand. Wei Shuyu hurriedly entered the small tavern. She thought there was something good waiting for her, but she didn't expect that she would be asked to carry a brazier. It was such a hot day. Wei Shuyu's face immediately stiffened. But it was the emperor. Under the gaze of Zhang Feng, that bastard, Wei Shuyu kicked and roared as she came in. She looked at the dozen or so people, and each of them did the same thing. She even took away the leftover barbecued meat and the table that Zhang Feng had not put away. 7 bamboo tubes of beer were not enough. When Zhang Feng had more than 30 bamboo tubes of beer in the backyard and asked people to take them away, he found that the hall was empty. Even his jar of salt was taken away. Zhang Feng was dumbfounded by what he saw. Who the F***ck are these people? They didn't even let go of the jar of salt? However, Li Shimin and Wei Shuyu had already walked out of Tonghui Fang by this time. Li Shimin was drinking wine in the sedan while eating the barbecued meat that Zhang Feng had made. When he was eating just now, he was anxious and worried about the beer, so he didn't seriously taste the barbecued meat. But now, once he stopped thinking and sat in the sedan, listening to the shouting and hawking outside, and the sound of people fighting for things from time to time, this was the real dish to go with wine. To put it bluntly, this barbecued meat was a little different from what they had eaten before. Although it looked like a big piece of meat was cut, even so, it couldn't be eaten so quickly. If it could reach this level, it meant that there was something else in it. Thinking of this, Li Shimin immediately roasted the chicken wings and asked, "Shuyu?" Hearing this, Wei Shuyu threw the oil jar in her hand to Xiao Gizi and hurried forward. "Did you look carefully when Fengzi was roasting the meat just now?" Wei Shuyu knew that the emperor was looking for someone to roast meat. Did he admit it? Or not? If he did, he would become the emperor's personal barbecue chef. But if he didn't? Wei Shuyu stammered, "Your Majesty, this general didn't pay too much attention, but this general saw the chicken wings and chicken feet on the roof beam. They were marinated with seasoning for the time it takes to brew a cup of tea. The mutton and pork were not processed. Oh, when we get back, you will roast meat for me according to Feng Zi's method." "Your Majesty!" Wei Shuyu had already thought of the result. At this moment, he only wished that this was a one-time job. Otherwise, he would never be able to make a name for himself. He returned to the Taiji Palace. The directors, Little Gizi, and Wei Shuyu closed the door and barbecued meat in the back garden of the bedroom. It was not until 2 hours later that the three of them finally grinned, looking at the chicken wing in Li Shimin's hand, which was half roasted, with blood still dripping from one side, with a grin on their faces. "Shuyu, give it a try. How does it taste this time?" "Yes." Wei Shuyu pulled a long face and took a bite of the chicken wing. Then, his pupils constricted and he spat it out. "Your Majesty, it's overcooked this time. Is it because we didn't turn it hard enough? Also, there's too much salt." "Is that so?" Li Shimin frowned. He threw the grill away and sat on the chair. He waved his hand and said, "Little Gizi, summon the imperial chef. Come here quickly." After a while, a fat man, who was as fat as a ball, ran over, pant. It seemed that this guy ate a lot of good food every day. But Li Shimin didn't care. "Shuyu, you two tell him about the roast meat. I'll give you 2 hours. If you can't make roast meat to my satisfaction, then..." When the fat imperial chef heard this, his face turned pale and he fell to the ground with a plop. "Yes, Your Majesty." The imperial chef didn't know if it was because he was under great pressure or something else. Anyway, within an hour, he really roasted the remaining meat skewers, chicken wings, and chicken feet that Zhang Feng had made. Although the taste was still a little different from the one that Zhang Feng had made, it was basically the same roast meat. The three of them looked at Li Shimin, who was sometimes frowning and sometimes deep in thought. They didn't dare to breathe loudly. After a while, Li Shimin nodded. "What's your name?" The fat imperial chef kowtowed hurriedly. "Your Majesty, my name is Zhang San. From today onwards, you'll be roasting meat full-time. When the time comes, I'll take you to a place. But this place is only known to you. If I find out and a second person knows about this, you know the consequences." What could the fat imperial chef say? This was his own business, and he was very clear about it. The emperor didn't say anything because he was still useful. What else could he say? He hurriedly kowtowed to express his gratitude. Although the taste is a little bad, it's still acceptable. Little geezy, reward me. Yes. Shoo. Go and call those old guys. Tell them that I'll treat them to barbecue and beer. Chapter 443. Fang Xianling was more excited than anyone else. Because this beer had been on his mind for a long time. If it wasn't for the fact that the Ministry of Agriculture was busy recently, he would have gone to the tavern to see it with his own eyes. But this was a bit mysterious for the rest of the people. On the way to the back garden, several people asked Fang Xianling about the beer over and over again, but Fang Xianling basically just laughed it off. Several people were so angry that they wanted to beat him up. As soon as they entered the back garden, everyone smelled the fragrance of barbecue. Although this was the back garden and also a part of the imperial garden, after being swept by the locusts, only withered branches and withered leaves were left, as well as clusters of tender buds. And not far away, Li Shimin's bright yellow robe was seen by several people from afar. And at this moment, Li Yuan's excited voice also sounded from the other side. Where is he? Where is the emperor? He brought good things but didn't know to give it to Lao Tzu to taste first? What kind of logic is this? All of you get out of the way, I want to see what the emperor is doing hiding in this small garden. Whether it was Li Shimin or the people who had just entered the back garden, they all hurriedly got up at this time. Welcome, Father Emperor, retired emperor. Get up, get up. Li Yuan couldn't wait to walk to the strange brazier that he had never seen before. To be precise, he looked at the barbecue that was sizzling with oil and said, "Where did that kid get this thing?" "Father Emperor, this son just came back from Zhang Feng's place. This is not this thing. Because of some reason, this son is letting the imperial chef study it. Did you get it out?" Li Yuan ignored the sweat on the faces of Li Shimin and the other two, as well as Wu Go. He grabbed a piece of barbecue that was already cold and took a bite. In an instant, Li Yuan's cheeks swelled up, and he was eating with a face full of enjoyment. Not bad, it's the taste of that kid. Right, come, all of you come sit. You, hurry up and barbecue or I'll chop you. Li Yuan greeted everyone while sitting cross-legged on the floor, staring at the grill and eating. Everyone looked at each other and imitated the retired emperor and sat on the floor. Do you have wine? Did you only take the meat and not the wine? Li Yuan ate a few more mouthfuls before he came to his senses and asked. Yes, Imperial Father, please wait a moment. I have something to tell you. Brother Zhang Feng has come up with a new trick this time. Do you want to try it? However, regarding this wine, allow me to keep you in suspense for the time being. You can drink Zhang Feng's previous wine first, and allow me and the others to try this new wine. What do you think? Don't. If that brat dares to make fun of Zhen will definitely skin him alive the next time I go there. Oh right, didn't you drink all of it? If you can drink it, why can't I? Li Shimin was in a difficult position. He couldn't possibly say that it tasted like horse piss when he drank it for the first time, right? If he said that, wouldn't it be terrible? Imperial Father, why don't you watch them drink first before drinking? Just trust me this once. Li Yuan saw that Li Shimin was so cautious, then he waved his hand. Then, you guys drink. The few people couldn't help but lose their composure. Since the emperor said so, they couldn't help but feel guilty at this time. Come, Zhen will drink with you. This wine is different from any of Brother Zhang Feng's wines. It's even different from the fermented glutinous rice. It's a bit unpalatable the first time, but I also felt uncomfortable the first time. However, when you endure it and drink a few more mouthfuls, you'll realize that this thing is really good. While speaking, Li Shimin looked at everyone and drank in big mouthfuls from the bamboo tube. Although Fang Xianling knew what this wine was made of, the rest of the people didn't know. Now that they saw the emperor drink it and looked at the bamboo tube on the table, Wei Zheng and Qing Yaojin went forward almost at the same time, unscrewed the seal, and put it on their mouths. Zhang Sun Wuji, Du Ruhui, and Fang Xianling saw that the two of them drank it. What could they do? They also hurriedly went forward to imitate the two of them and drank. Pff. However, when everyone drank the wine, they couldn't stay calm in an instant. The pungent smell instantly caused everyone to spurt out uncontrollably. Fortunately, Xiao Gizi and Wei Shuyu were already prepared. After everyone drank, they hurriedly opened 2 oil paper umbrellas behind them and covered in front of Li Shimin and Li Yuan. Li Yuan was stunned. All the ministers were dumbfounded. This was wine? This wasn't horse piss? The emperor actually drank this just now? Everyone looked at Li Shimin in disbelief. Wei Zheng was so excited that his whole body was trembling. Your Majesty, what is this? You just drank this? Wei Zheng was going crazy. What was this? What was Brother Zhang Feng doing? This kind of thing, wasn't this cheating people? Don't, Prime Minister Wei, don't be agitated, let's talk slowly. Shimin, although Zhen didn't drink this wine, Zhen has already explained your origin. What is this? Why does it look and smell like horse piss? Did something happen to you? Chapter 444. Li Shimin was somewhat speechless. If Li Yuan was not here, then everything would still be fine. However, now that Imperial Father was here, there was no way to talk about this thing. But fortunately, Imperial Father did not drink it. If he found something, then it would be easy to handle. Imperial Father, this thing is a new kind of wine. This son drank it for the first time at Zhang Feng's place and was indeed not used to it. At that time, when I drank the 3rd mouthful, I really discovered that this thing was a treasure. If you don't believe me, Qing Yaojin, don't you love to drink? We now order you to drink all the wine in this bamboo tube in one go. If you drink it, I will reward you with a jar of Zhang Feng's fine wine. Your Majesty, is this true? When Qing Yaojin heard this, his expression instantly became excited. Although this thing did not taste good, when he was fighting back then, when there was no water to drink, he even drank his own urine. What was this? Seeing Li Shimin nod, he raised his neck and gulped it down in front of everyone's grinning eyes. After he was done, he even snorted. Your Majesty, can I drink another one? After drinking this bamboo tube, I really discovered something, but this thing is really a bit hard to describe. We allow it. If you can drink it, all the wine here is yours. Li Yuan frowned and stared at Qing Yaojin's eyes. After seeing that he really did not have the slightest suspicion of flattery, without waiting for Li Shimin to speak, he waved his hand and agreed. Qing Yaojin was a straightforward person with a one-track mind. His personality of being addicted to wine as if it was his life, as well as his straightforward personality, had always been liked by the Li royal family. This was also the reason why he could become one of the 24 meritorious officials of the Lingyan Pavilion. When Qing Yaojin heard this, after hurriedly thanking Li Yuan, he started drinking to his heart's content. And when he drank 3 jars of wine, his stomach instantly swelled to the point that he could not drink anymore. How is it? Have you tasted anything yet? Li Yuan asked hurriedly. Wei Zheng and the others looked at the bamboo tube in their hands, then looked at Qing Yaojin, who was still drunk, waiting for his answer. This wine although it tasted like horse urine for the first time, this thing is really something. It's sweet, mellow, and has a strong taste of malt. Your Majesty, is this wine made by Fengzi? Is this made from malt? My dear Minister, you're right. This thing was something that Zhang Feng and his brother had just created. Tell me, what do you think of this thing? Good. Was there even a need to ask? I can guarantee with my life that if this thing were to spread out, it would be the grape wine of the western regions. All kinds of wine from the Tang dynasty? They were all king trash. And I'll say something unpleasant, this wine, even if that woman who doesn't drink came, she could drink 2 or 3 jars. Qing Yaojin was obviously drunk. As he drank, he did not wait for Li Shimin to call him. He took a meat skewer and bragged as he ate. And how could Li Yuan and the others still sit still? There were at most 30 bamboo tubes on this table. In such a short time, he drank more than 10. If this went on, then what would the others have? Needless to say, Li Yuan's neck was the same. He imitated Qing Yaojin's appearance and drank to his heart's content. Father Emperor, this son salutes you. Later, this son has an important matter to discuss with you. Good. Come, let's all drink together. And you kid, you come too. We find you pleasing to the eye. Li Yuan waved his hand and pointed at Wei Shuyu. Only then did Wei Shuyu joyfully express her gratitude. Then she started to shout with everyone else. The few of them suppressed the discomfort in their hearts. After drinking the bamboo jug of wine, they found that this thing was really something. It was a bit like fruit wine, but the taste was a bit like the wine with the lowest alcohol content at Zhang Feng's place. However, their mouths were filled with the taste of malt. This was not all. If you said it was fermented glutinous rice, it was not. It was not that sweet. In any case, it had a strange taste. And this taste, the first contact was really not that good. However, when the third sip was taken, the waves of bubbles filled the stomach, and the comfortable feeling in the stomach was not comparable to any kind of wine, or even any kind of food. Father Emperor, the effect of this wine will be better with barbecue. You guys don't drink it foolishly. Come and try it. This is good stuff. You all have eaten it before. This thing with beer is really satisfying. Today, there is not much wine, but we have enough barbecue. In less than 2 hours, the wine was gone. The meat was also gone. One by one, they held their stomachs and burped. Wei Zheng and the others even went to the toilet several times. At this time, each of them walked as if they were stepping on cotton, drifting. Shimin, don't you have something to say? Now tell me. When Li Shimin heard this, he said, Father, do you think that once this wine becomes an industry, combined with this barbecue, it will stimulate all the people as well as businesses once again? The most important thing is, will this beer be accepted by the people of the Tang dynasty?